Yep, that's it. Miller.
You know what? I'll try to bring you back some fish.
And Moulton.
Okay, you drop it off at the front door. Probably in the mailbox. We'll pack ice.
Broadcasting live from the Kobe Cooling Remote Studios, where it's always cool and comfortable.
Oh, I like
It's up to you now. It's up to you.
I like it.
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton on this final day of June in 2020. Thanks so much for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at millerandmoulton.com, and you could be looking live if you signed up for either or both of the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels. Top of the morning to you, Mark. How are you?
I'm good. Good morning, David.
Well, listen, can't wait for this month to be over. Can't wait to see what July brings.
Halfway home, baby.
Just about.
Halfway home.
I think officially Thursday is when we begin the second half of 2020. You know, because February is a little shorter month, although only one day shorter this year because of a leap year. I believe today is day 182 of the year, and we have 366 this year. So I think once we get through tomorrow, we're officially halfway. And then, Mark, we just have 13 more miles to go beginning Thursday morning.
Right. And I think most of us either want to go behind a bush and throw up or defecate because the first half of this marathon has sucked so much.
I got to admit, yesterday was a tough one for me. It was a tough one. We had a family member who had been sick, and she passed away, and then I got the news about losing the Fox golf gig, which is somewhat lucrative for someone who doesn't make a lot of money.
Yeah, considering you make more from that than you do from this job, and you only work 3-4 weeks for that job, and this one you do every day. Yeah, I got
it's close. It's close.
Trust me, I know.
It's close. And then officially got the letter in the mail from our insurance company saying that we're no longer going to insure you. Okay, once 2020 is done. Okay, this you getting cancer, we can't insure you anymore. So I just can't wait to see what Tuesday brings. I got to be honest. I just can't wait to see it. I mean,
I wouldn't answer the phone or get the mail.
Right. Once this show's over, I'm just going to take a nap.
Go to bed.
I'm going to
curl up in the fetal position and just don't move, David.
All right. I'm going to take the dog out. I'm going to look at the dog and go, "You good? Are you good?" Because I'm not leaving the room. I don't know what to tell you. Not until lunchtime. So a little slower sports day yesterday, although something happened that we had wondered if and when it was going to take place. Yesterday was the day that the baseball players raised their hand for the first time and said, yeah, I'm out. I'm not doing this. I thought about it, and no. Combination of reasons. But, you combine coronavirus with certain family situations going on, and, the fact that we're only playing 60 games and I'm only giving up essentially 1/3 of my salary. No, I'm good. I'll stay home. I'll see you in Florida or Arizona in February of next year. It's all good.
Yeah, I think that obviously, players that have been doing it have a lot of reasons, some of which is the coronavirus, most of which is family members and the coronavirus.
Yes.
That's really, I don't think there are a hell of a lot of these athletes in any sport that are worried about themselves. It's a pregnant wife. It's somebody in their family. The basketball player that was taking care of his grandma that raised him. Those seem to be the reasons, not I'm scared to play, if you know what I mean.
Well, I'd say it's half I'm scared to play. I'm just scared to play not for me, but for someone else.
Cool.
Right. I'm thinking if I get it, I'll be fine. I'm young, I'm indestructible. But the people around me, they may not be so indestructible. So, I will say this, though. 3 of the 4 players are also veteran players who raised their hand yesterday. They've been doing this a while. 2 of the 4, in fact, you wonder if this was going to be their last year. I mean, Ryan Zimmerman, Ian Desmond, they're both mid-30s. And Mike Leakes, I believe, in his 30s also. And Desmond and Zimmerman also, by Major League Baseball standards, not making a ton of money. Now, don't get me wrong, we would all play the 60 games for the $600,000 or $700,000 that they were going to earn in those 2.5 months. Yes, we all know that. We would do it. Of course we would. But Ryan Zimmerman's made $140 million in his career. He was going to make about $700,000 this year because he's on a 1-year, $2 million deal. He's not ready to hang it up. He's been a Nats, stalwart, and they wanted to bring him back, and he agreed to a team-friendly deal. So now it's kind of, though, like Mark, you and I are hockey fans. When the lockout came into be after the 2004 season, there were quite a few veteran NHL players who did not resume in 2006. They were planning on playing in 2005. If the lockout had not hit, they were planning to play. But a whole year goes by, and they were like, yeah, you know what, I'm done. And so I wonder how many of the original 4, and in talking to Seth Everett after the show yesterday, he thinks it'll be at least 30, that it'll average at least 1 guy per team that opts out.
Well, I mean, if you think of those numbers, for every 1 player who's not playing for their Major League Baseball team, there will be 11,600 that won't be watching that baseball team this summer. I mean, David, 30 guys could retire, and I know I host a sports show, and I probably shouldn't talk this way. I could give 2 blanks. Go away. Don't care. I mean, I'm not trying to do it to belittle your argument, but right now, 60-game season and a bunch of guys call it quits. I'm not losing any sleep because I don't plan on watching much of this.
Now, were you going to watch much of it? It was 120 games?
Don't know. I don't know. David, that's a great question because as it has been documented on this show, I watched 3 NASCAR races consecutively on Sunday.
Yes, you did.
Do you think if baseball would have started in June that I might have been watching baseball games in June?
Yes. Absolutely. If last weekend, instead of the NWSL debuting, if it was Major League Baseball, I think you would have been all in. I think a few people would have been in.
So that is, we'll never know the answer to the question, but I think, David, I would have watched more had they been playing solo, had they had the audience when we were so desperate to watch sports. And we knew we're supposed to be watching baseball at this time of year. Our brain tells us it's baseball season. So,
yes,
David, we'll never know the answer. But I think I would have watched more if they would have had the sports landscape to themselves.
And we'll have Seth Everett on today because we've got a heck of a show lined up for you tomorrow. But Seth will join us at 8 o'clock today. Pat will join us at 8:25. Although I'm wondering, Pat took a day off yesterday. I know. Pat didn't do his show yesterday. I wonder if Pat went fishing. He said he was gonna.
You communicate a little more with Pat than I do. And I didn't leave the house, so I didn't know that he didn't do a show. Because if I leave during the time he's on, I usually catch a couple minutes of he and Jim Miller.
Right. And then that's what happened to me. I ran an errand yesterday during a show and went, the big fella never takes the show off. What's going on here? And Cam's a patriot. I turned it on figuring just to listen to him crow because he'd been banging the drums for over 2 months for that to happen. But Seth and Pat in the 8 o'clock hour today. 479-5551 is how you can chime into our show. 479-5551 on the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. I'm going to mention it coming up here in about 20 minutes or so, but we're going to have a guest at 7:30 who covers Clemson football, who wrote a piece yesterday going, yeah, I don't think college football is going to happen this year. Whoa.
Coming out of Clemson.
Correct.
Where they are 4 players away from herd immunity.
Close. 37 down and about 70 more to go. That's true. They're close. Speaking of which, a few national sports talk show hosts believe that the SEC and Clemson are doing this on purpose, that they're actually trying to get their kids sick, so to get herd immunity to be able to play their season. So, once again, the whole debate, you got the country yelling at one another about masks. Now you're going to have sports people yelling at one another about whether or not teams are intentionally trying to get their kids sick or not. I mean, this is going to be lovely, is what this is going to be. And we haven't even started playing yet. I mean, just wait until we have games. All right. This is how lovely things are before the games. But I found this interesting for 2 reasons. One, it was an entire conference, if you will. They call themselves a league, the Ivy League. The Ivy League kind of talked out loud yesterday, Mark. The Ivy League said, we're thinking about just pushing football back to 2021. We'll just move it to the spring. Now, if you think about it, I don't know how many people have watched cable news lately, but the Ivy League's located in the one part of the country in which the states are all light green right now, in which, the numbers are all going down. Those states are reopening slowly, but they're reopening. And so far, knock on wood, things are going okay. And they're talking out loud about, I don't know. Maybe we're going to wait. Interesting. Because what if they do it? And will it put pressure? And granted, it's just Ivy League football. It's not big boy football. But if they actually do that, Mark, do you think that that's a domino?
No, I do not. For one very simple reason. What's the Ivy League television contract look like for football?
Well, Mark, they do have that NBCSN game of the week, I believe.
Right. That I believe pays the conference 14 cents a week. Maybe it's $14.08. I'm not sure.
They renegotiated, Mark. I believe there is a dollar sign.
Okay.
Yes.
So for that one reason, not to try to crush your argument with simplicity, but to me, David, the Ivy League television contract with NBC Sports Network is not enough to derail the entire college football season. No matter how smart they think they may be, the SEC doesn't give a damn.
I think you're right. All right. But I just wondered, would it get other conference commissioners? Would it get other university presidents? Do you think, now come on, let's be honest. Most of us are not the smartest people in the room. We're not. Some of us may think we are, but we're not. Okay. Usually we're in a room. Someone else in the room is smarter. If you're the university president at, let's just say, Florida State, you think pretty highly of yourself. I mean, look at what you've done. I've done pretty well for myself. The president of a major university. All right. But I'm not the president of an Ivy League school, if you know what I mean. I mean, when, we get together, and I don't know if the university presidents have a convention every year, but we get together. I mean, you assume if you walk into a room and you walk in and you see a couple of your ACC brethren and a couple of Big Ten brethren and this, that, and the other thing, and you may think I'm on equal footing here. But if by chance you walk in at a cocktail hour and you see like 4 Ivy League presidents standing together, you think to yourself, well, I may sashay over, but I'm just going to listen.
Just say hi. Just say hi.
Hey,
Not much else. Stick your hand out and listen.
Hey,
Might
Ben,
pick up a tidbit
again.
here. How are things at Brown?
Right. And that's all I'm saying. That, hey, I'm fairly smart. I'm doing pretty well for myself. But, Those are the Ivy League guys. And so if the best and the brightest, right, the Ivy League, right? I mean, from the neck up, the best and the brightest, right?
So we're told.
Yeah, right.
So we're told. I don't know, but we're told they're the smartest.
Right. And so, if you're a president somewhere else and they decide, okay, and by the way, there's a good chance where you live, your state's in yellow or orange or red. They're all in green right now. Okay. The worst is over for them. And while the worst is over, and actually, I mean, think about if the South and the Southwest, in which, we were in the situation that the Northeast is in right now. I mean, people be wondering, should we be moving the football season up? Is there any way we can play in early August?
They definitely would be saying something about those first 8 rows at the NFL games that are being apparently put signage over.
Right.
Are you sure about that? I can't have my front row seats. Is that what you're telling me?
Right. And so I'm just wondering if by chance they do this, because I agree with you. I mean, we have said, and we have said from the very beginning, this may be unseemly, but this is all about money. Period. End of sentence. It's about money for athletic departments. It's about money for universities.
David said this. Sorry, David. David said this very early on in this, and he was right. And he said it before I did, but I echo the statement. The entire university system depends on kids being on campus. Period. And if we're on campus, explain to me why we can't play football.
Right. And then if we're on campus, explain to me how at least the students can't be allowed into the games. So to me, that's the dominoes that fall there. But I'm just wondering, because I agree with you completely. That $14.08 a game from NBC for the game of the week, and that's why they were able to buy the golf package from Fox yesterday, is because they don't spend a whole lot on
the Ivy League
football package. Touche.
Well played.
Thank you. You had a joke yesterday in which I was in the middle of something. I had to stop. I had to recognize the joke. Okay. So I just paused there. I thought it was worthy of being tapped on the shoulder and go, hey, that one wasn't bad. Good job. Get the pain out any way you can. So I'm just wondering if the Ivy League were to say, you know what, we're going to move to the spring. Would other university presidents then go, the Ivy Leaguers decided that? What are we missing? I'm just wondering. I mean, come on. We all have people that we regard as smarter than us. Okay. And if they feel a certain way about something and we happen to feel differently, I think it causes us reason to pause and go, I may rethink this.
Let me just put a little wrench in your philosophy here, because everything you spelled out makes a lot of sense, except for one thing. I don't believe your theory was at the university president's convention, whether or not that happens or not.
Right. And what a rip-roaring time that is, by the way, in Columbus, Ohio. I mean, they go all out. Hey, it was just voted the best city in America. Did you see that?
No, I did not.
I love these surveys because also they rank the cities by size and this, that, and the other thing. But I think Naples finished second. It was like mid-sized cities or something like that. Columbus, Ohio is number 1.
All right. Well, they're at the convention in Columbus. And I believe, David, that even if you're the president of Florida State, Clemson, Mississippi State,
okay,
you think so highly of yourself in that job that you do not kowtow to the Ivy League president. You actually may mock him for thinking he's so smart. Look at Harvard guy over there. He thinks he's so damn smart. Do you realize that half the people that go there are just legacies? It's not all that.
That's what you're telling yourself?
Well, that's actually factual.
I know it is.
But I think university presidents definitely tell themselves that.
Okay. All right. So they all think that they're on the same level there?
Yep.
Okay, maybe it's just me.
Right.
Maybe it's just me. Because if I was president of Mississippi State, if I show up at the university president's convention, I'm feeling okay about myself. I'm feeling pretty good. And you know, Mark, I'm great outside the 239.
We know.
Or whatever Starkville's area code
You
is.
were. We don't know now.
That is true.
Moulton 2.0. We don't know how he travels.
Oh, don't depress me even more. My goodness, that's true. I may not have an A game anymore. Oh, my goodness. This is very depressing. Anyway, back to the traveling outside the 239. Got my A game. I'm feeling good about myself, the whole deal. And I may even show up in a shirt and a tie. But then I run into bow tie guy. I don't know. I'd feel as if intellectually I'm stepping into the majors here. You know, it's the difference between playing for the Tigers right now and playing for the Twins.
I got you. Hang around with the Vandy, the Northwestern, and the Stanford guy. You'll feel better about yourself.
Boy, I just talk about thinking it.
Bring the Michigan guy around, too. He's not all bad.
Man.
You want some arrogance? Get the Michigan president next to you. He'll talk down to those Harvard folks. He doesn't care.
I don't know if that'll make me feel better about myself or worse. But anyway, I'd be outside the 239, though. I'd be working really hard trying to bring an A game that I may have lost. Wow. Of all the things that I have been thinking about how life is different for me and all the changes that I have to make, I did not consider at all that maybe the Moulton Road Show, which has been a traveling success for years, may get canceled, may get dropped down. I may not be able to play the venues that I had played for all these years. Wow. That'd make me sad. All of a sudden.
Went from the arena to the 6,000-seat hall, David.
Right. All of a sudden, I'm, doing 5 o'clock happy hour with a tip jar, and there's 3 people sitting there.
Exactly.
The manager's coming over going, if we don't get more people here, I'm going to have to let you go. Miller and Moulton. Really good show lined up for you today. We'll head to Clemson in a little more than an hour. Is the college football season really not happening? Somebody who covers Clemson thinks so. Wow. And then 2 of our favorites, Seth and Pat, will join us in the 8 o'clock hour. We'll have a poll question. We'll recap yesterday's poll question. Good, bad, and ugly. Today was the day when starting 5 is next. This is a hot steaming deal right here. That's how we roll. And we're still in the 239. Never mind, we take this thing on the road. Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for being with us on this final day of June.
Take it on the road. Settle down. What, are we going to do the show at the beach Friday?
Say, when is the next time we're going to do a remote? 2022. Hello.
Better question would be, when is your wife going to let us do a remote?
We're not going to tell her. We're not going to tell her. We're not going to tell her. Mm-mm. Hey, she went back to the office yesterday.
Can't believe it.
First time since March 19th.
I cannot believe it.
Yep. She went into the office yesterday. I know.
Hazmat suit?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yes. Bright yellow. Okay. The face shield, the whole deal. Yep. She came home. She glowed. Okay. And I'm not just talking about, because she's so beautiful. I'm talking about radioactive. Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for being with us. Starting 5 is next here on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
We do this all for you.
You are correct.
So sit back and enjoy.
It's fun. It's the best.
Enjoy the banter.
Fox and Sports, that's the game.
Enjoy the conversation that makes you think.
I would not think about ripping him.
What are you talking about?
Enjoy all of this.
Love it. Embrace it. Isn't it great? And let's not forget.
Because we're doing it all for you.
You just watch. We're going to do it. And do it often.
We're Fox Sports Radio.
Shop Lowe's and get appliances up to 40% off, like an LG InstaView side-by-side refrigerator for $12.99. Valid through July 8th, U.S. only.
Great news, Southwest Florida. Below invoice employee pricing is back at Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Lowest prices ever on over 1,500 new and certified pre-owned vehicles. Loaded luxurious Grand Cherokee Limited lease, $289 per month. That's right, Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited, $289 per month. 7-passenger Dodge Journey SUV, just $19,990. Plus at Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, you can drive payment-free for 3 months or interest-free for 6 years and worry-free up to 100,000 miles. And our parts service and body shop are open to serve you. Below invoice employee pricing at Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, 1/2 mile south of Daniels Parkway on US 41 in Fort Myers. Open every day, including Sunday. Call 239-481-2600. GallianaCars.com. 42 month lease, 10,000 miles per year, $19.99 to its signing, plus tax, tag title, dealer and acquisition fee, 0 security deposit, $13.88 per month per thousand borrowed for 72 months at 0 APR with 0 down with lender approval, offers don't combine.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
Dan Martineau here, owner of D.R. Martineau Roofing of Southwest Florida. I've been repairing and replacing roofs for 27 years. We operate with integrity, knowledge, and service. Google DRM Roofing or call 239-332-1441.
License number CCC 1326954.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
Listen to the Dan Patrick Show at work.
Never boring, that's for sure.
Streaming 24/7 at foxsportsfm.com.
We are Fox Sports.
Attention, Southwest Florida.
Did you read Ian Desmond's Instagram post?
Only Naples Nissan will give you $8,000.
Yeah, he's also talking about
your trade-in.
not just the coronavirus, but racial justice.
Yeah, but he's from Sarasota. Just I mean, you know,
exclusive unlimited mile lifetime warranty.
he's talking about, you know, he's
pick out your favorite.
Said he went back to the fields. I just saw it and I started, okay. Recently I took a drive over to the Little League fields. I was basically raised on here in Sarasota. They're not in great shape. They look run down, neglected. When I saw a Cal Ripken Little League schedule tacked on a bulletin board, I walked over to check it out. It was from 2015. The only thing shiny and new to my eye was a USSSA banner, travel ball, showcases. Now, not so much baseball for all anymore, as much as baseball for all who can afford it. And then he talks about Dick Lee, who was the big coach and manager for 12 years, and the quote he had. Pretty good stuff.
These are stressful times. New routines.
Interesting to know, before he played Little League, his team chanted white power, and he and one other black guy on the team were kind of going, well...
For Center for Men's Health.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's in the Instagram thing. That just baffled. Jesus.
Mood than testosterone. The single greatest issue for guys with low T is mood. And the single greatest change for men that get low T care is a greatly improved mood. Many are grumpy when they start, and most can't believe how much their mood improves once they get treated. And everything improves once your mood improves. Feel the difference C4MH.com can make in your life. I've been a patient of C4MH.com for a couple of years, and recently I've lost 20 pounds because now I have the energy to work out from home. And that'll put you in a good mood, too. C4MH.com's express treatment plan is convenient, affordable, and above all, safe. And with locations all up and down West Florida, there's one near you right now. Find out more. Go to C4MH.com.
Here we go. Now back to Miller and Moulton. No. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
.29 past 6 o'clock on this final day of June in 2020. We're nearly halfway there. Miller and Moulton, thanks so much for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming once again on millerandmoulton.com, and well, broadcasting live once again on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels. Sign up for them. They are free. Good show lined up for you. We'll head to Clemson in an hour. A couple weeks ago, it was about off-the-field controversy. This time we'll go because the local sports writer goes, I don't think we're going to play college football this year.
Can't wait to hear his reasons why. I'm fascinated to hear him break this down because I don't buy it. Never bought it.
Did we mention he writes in Clemson, South Carolina?
That's a bold article. It's one thing to write that in Nashville. It's quite another to write it in Clemson, South Carolina.
Right. And then in the 8 o'clock hour, Seth Everett, Pat Kerwin to talk all things baseball and the NFL. But between now and then, time for
the starting five. 5 big stories that you need to know. This is Miller and Moulton starting 5. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
Mark, 4 Major League Baseball players raised their hand yesterday and said, yeah, I'm not going to play. Because I think guys have to report by a couple days from now. Or is it next week? I thought it was either tomorrow or Thursday.
I thought it was Thursday. But
Mike Leake of the Arizona Diamondbacks, he's a right-handed pitcher. Joe Ross is a right-handed pitcher of the Washington Nationals. His teammate Ryan Zimmerman. And Rockies outfielder Ian Desmond all said, nope, for a variety of reasons, I'm not going to play. And none of them had to do with them per se being, hey, I've tested positive and I'm out. Nope. But they all described situations in which they've got family members, whether it's a wife that just gave birth, a wife who's pregnant, moms and grandparents who are at risk. And remember, baseball players are not going into a bubble. They may when they go to the park. They've got a bunch of rules and regulations, but the players are going to be traveling and the players are going to be sleeping at home. And, there is no bubble in Major League Baseball. There's going to be a bubble in the NBA and the NHL, but there's not going to be in Major League Baseball. But, Mark, you read Ian Desmond's, was it an Instagram post? Or
his
Facebook
Instagram post.
And very detailed.
He just gets into, this has nothing to do with why he's not playing. He said he's not playing because of the COVID and family reasons and a lot of others. But he is biracial. And people have been asking him since George Floyd's death what he thought about everything that's going on. And he said, basically he says that suppressing my emotions has become impossible. And he was trying to figure out what to say, but he's from Sarasota. And he talks about going to the ballpark and seeing how bad the ballpark was, the shape it was in. And there's a quote from Dick Lee, who was the Coast Federal head coach and manager of the Sarasota Little League from 73 to 75. And the quote just talks about helping, baseball helping raise young men and the joy you have as an adult when one of those young men who's now a man says, hi, coach. And just that whole thing. And he also then talks about getting ready for his games at 10, 11, 12 years old when there was 2 black kids on the whole team as his high school teammates chanting white power before games. He was one of 2 black guys on the team. It's in Sarasota. And he just kind of talks about money being the difference between education, makes a lot of big picture points. But he is, I don't know if that's the whole reason he's not playing, but he looks as if he's going to be pretty active post-career. We shall see.
Mike Leake, Ryan Zimmerman, Joe Ross, Ian Desmond, the 4 Major League Baseball players who announced yesterday that they are, in fact, opting out. DeAndre Jordan of the Brooklyn Nets tested positive for the coronavirus recently, and so he said that he will be opting out, which is interesting because in theory, quarantine for a couple weeks, and then he could join them in Orlando, right? I mean, the season doesn't start until July 30th. I mean, supposedly 2 weeks, and then you test negative a couple times. Because that's their protocol if somebody tests positive who is going to Orlando, that you get separated from everybody else, and then you get tested, and then when you have back-to-back negative tests, okay, you're back in circulation. Here we go. You're back with the team. Knock yourself out. But DeAndre Jordan, who's a veteran also, he's in his 30s, and he opted out. The Brooklyn Nets have had quite a couple of guys now who have opted out. They're the 7 seed. They're a half a game ahead of the Magic for the 8 seed. Remember, if you fall to the 8, you potentially could have to play a play-in series with the Washington Wizards. So don't know how well the Nets are going to do.
Who's
here.
left to play in Brooklyn?
Well, that's a good point.
You know, I was doing today was the day one before the show, and it's a year ago that they got Durant and Irvin and, you know, make all these huge free agent signs. None of them played.
Well, Irving about 20 games, but yeah, I know what you're saying. Right.
I just kind of, is there going to be anybody left for this 9-game stretch run or whatever the hell it is?
The University of Arizona hit the brakes yesterday, the pause button on their plans to bring athletes back on campus. Mark, they started 2 weeks ago, June 15th. They started bringing athletes back on campus. They tested 83 of them. Care to guess how many tested positive?
14.
Remember, 1.
Okay.
1 out of 83 has tested positive, but because of the rampant rate of the coronavirus and how it is spreading in the community in Tucson there, that the University of Arizona said basically, yeah, if you're an athlete and you're not on campus now, why don't you just hang out where you are for a couple of weeks? Maybe we'll hope that things get a little better around here, and then we'll bring you on campus maybe in the middle of July. So it's interesting that they would announce that, because there are many that are arguing that it's actually safer for the athletes to come on campus and they receive better medical care and what have you. The Ivy League, as we mentioned earlier, they are considering moving the football season to the spring. The Ivy League, and, you know, think about where the Ivy League schools are located, all in the Northeast, which right now has seemingly weathered the storm, the wave, whatever you want to refer to it as, and they're on the mend. They have flattened the curve in many, if not all, of those states. You know, look at the map. They're talking about 29 states with rising rates. Yeah, none of them in the Northeast. So it is interesting that, to me anyway, that the Ivy League schools in the one part of the country right now that's doing okay, that they're like, yeah, I don't know, we may just wait until we have a vaccine, which just sounds like what they're considering. And who knows if we're going to have one in the spring.
Thank you. I mean, thank you. When did the fact that we might not get one for at least 18 months start with we can't do anything until we get one? I just wish, for the love of everything, we could be somewhat consistent. Just a little bit. We can't get 6 people who have a brain about anything to come close to being consistent on what they say.
High school hoops, Amani Bates, Mark. He's the latest phenom out there to commit. He committed to Tom Izzo in Michigan State. He was considered the #1 high schooler in the class of 2021. Now, is he ever going to play for Sparty? Remember, G League's writing checks now.
Yep.
So we don't know if this kid is going to make it to East Lansing. But when he committed to Michigan State yesterday, he said, hey, Izzo's been recruiting me since I was in 7th grade. Basically said, nobody's been on me longer. So, you know what, Coach? If I'm playing college ball, I'm going to play it for you.
And if not, I'm going to get paid. I'm guessing he's going to get paid.
Michigan, their 2 highest paid coaches are obviously Jim Harbaugh and Juwan Howard. They both agreed to a 10% pay cut yesterday, which you add it up, it's close to $1 million. I mean, you know, I think it's around 900,000 if you add it up, the 10% pay cut for the 2 of them yesterday. Speaking of college hoops, FGCU got a transfer yesterday, a kid from Ole Miss.
Yeah, I saw that.
Franco Miller Jr. is a 6'3" redshirt freshman, grew up in the Bahamas, played his senior year of high school ball in Canada, and he'll be one of 6 new players next season, knock on wood, for FGCU. He'll have 3 years of eligibility remaining.
And immediately eligible, correct?
My understanding is that Ole Miss is going to say, hey, they're basically, there's not an opportunity for him to play here. So we have no problem. We don't think the kid should have to sit out a year. So apparently he's going to leave Ole Miss in good academic standing with their blessing. And so usually, not always though, remember, didn't we have the high-profile case a year or two ago, which one of the kids was leaving to go from Michigan to Ohio State or vice versa, and the Big Ten school he was leaving was completely supportive, saying yes.
He Ohio State to NC State.
Okay.
The basketball player, if it's the one I'm thinking of, and they didn't.
Right, and the NCAA still said no.
Right, because, well, the NCAA.
Exactly. But Franco Miller Jr., 6'3" combo guard.
Is that a good get for Fly? I mean, if he can't play at Ole Miss, I'm not trying to be a jerk here. If he has no chance of playing at Ole Miss, how good is that for FGCU?
Well, I'd like to think the SEC is a little higher level than the A-Sun.
Understood. But they're saying this guy ain't even going to see the court. So is he someone who would be a starter for FGCU? Will he have to work? I mean, what would be your guess?
My guess is he would come off the bench. That he'd be a combo guard that would come off the bench. He'd be first guard off the bench would be my guess.
All right.
Next year.
Seems
if
fair.
He played. So, and then because he hasn't played much in the last 2 years. He redshirted for a year because he got hurt, and then he played sparingly last year. This was a kid who also was not recruited by the current coach at Ole Miss. That he committed to Ole Miss before Kermit Davis got the job. So my understanding in looking up is that basically Kermit wouldn't have recruited this kid. Not his type of player. Didn't fit Kermit's system. So, what I was able to gather yesterday is kid's pretty good. It was just kind of a square peg in a round hole in terms of what Ole Miss does, and should do, okay if he goes and plays in a system that fits his skill set. And I would think he'd fare a little better in the A-Sun than the SEC. Just,
of course.
Right. So we'll see. We'll see. They haven't had a transfer from Ole Miss in a while. Got to go back to the beginning of last decade. Actually, they had a big fella transfer when we were doing the games in Macon. The team that lost to Belmont, their starting center, was it Cantwell?
Yes.
Big guy?
Yeah.
Okay, he was an Ole Miss transfer.
Because he had a great game against Mercer
to
get him against Belmont. Yeah, had a huge game in the semis.
Right. Actually had a 2-year disappointing career at FGCU, but came
had
through
a
in a
great
big
game
way in that A-Sun tournament. Right. And that mark at 17 minutes before the hour is...
The starting five. 5 big stories that you need to know. This is Miller and Moulton Starting 5. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
I know this is not going to be the poll question because we asked this already, but I do think that sometimes people react, because I know I do, differently when we ask something that is a hypothetical, and then a short time later it becomes reality. And I don't know about you, Mark, but there are times in which, in theory, I would feel this way. And then when it happens, for whatever reason, it strikes a little different chord with me. And I go, I know what I thought 2-3 weeks ago, but I don't know. I might feel differently now. And I wonder if anyone who's just kind of paying attention to the sports news and who answered our poll question 2-3 weeks ago when we say, hey, you got a problem if athletes start opting out? Because let's face it, 2-3 weeks ago, nobody had opted out yet. I mean, 3 WNBA players had opted out. I mean, that's it. We hadn't had an NBA player opt out yet, hadn't had a Major League Baseball player opt out yet. Okay, and we asked the question, and I think most said, no, I'll be okay with it.
About 11% said they'd have a problem with it. Most said no, and then their third choice was depending on what it was for.
Right, the reasoning, yeah. And so now, though, the guys are starting to opt out. And they're opting out. They haven't even gotten a training camp yet.
Well, look, ultimately people are still going to be a little bitter at guys opting out for a third of their salary when there's so many of us struggling financially.
Right.
It's tough to sit there as the guy in the public who works his tail off or might not be working or is waiting tables and has taken it in the teeth over the last 3 months to say, you're telling me you're not going to work right now for that kind of money? There's a bitterness factor there. But I don't think people will be rationally, I hope wouldn't be as upset about it.
Miller and Moulton. You can always chime in on the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line, 479-5551, 479-5551. 14 minutes before the hour. We'll recap yesterday's poll question, come up with a new one for today. Miller and Moulton, thanks for being with us on this final day of June. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Welcome to the program.
This is the Dan Patrick Show.
Tom Brady is still working out. He had an FDR quote. We have nothing to fear but fear itself. And what do you make of that, McLovin?
I like his historical quoting, but it's pretty controversial. It seems to be not shying away from controversy.
Brady's making it clear that he's not going to let anything get in the way of him developing chemistry with his new teammates.
Dan Patrick.
The Dan Patrick Show. Weekdays at 9 a.m. on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
It's Kaylee Kobe at Kobe Coin. It's been almost 5 minutes since you have heard an air conditioning company commercial all day long. Blah, blah, blah. So how do you pick the best? First, only pick a company with NATE certified mechanics. Next, the license holder should also be the owner, not some random license. And you want someone who has stood the test of time. In other words, you want Kobe Cooling.
When you think of air conditioning companies, we hope you'll think of Kobe Cooling. No nonsense and no pressure. We're the company your neighbors use. License CACO 57313. Kobe, the most trusted name in the business since 1949. And now offering Kobe's exclusive brand, the Florida Reserve. Call and ask us about a 10-year guarantee with no hassle warranties.
We've got our good friend Tim Meister, owner of the Floor Meisters in Naples, on the phone.
TJ.
We're talking about their huge selection and great pricing on Core-Tec flooring. Tim, tell us what's new at the store.
Right now we have 90 colors of Core-Tec in stock, ready to go pick up, put down as soon as you want it.
What do you got? Anything in your head for a poll question?
$299 on up with lifetime warranty.
And it's not just the many colors of Core-Tec that you have. You also have other Core-Tec products as well.
We also carry the Core-Tec stone product. Looks like tile, looks like stone, but it's Core-Tec, so you get the soft.
You want to do something about, how would you feel if the Ivy League moved their football games to the spring? Otherwise,
humidity.
If you haven't been to the Floor Meisters, you really owe it to yourself to visit the store. 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco.
Or do we want to stay on an NFL theme or a Major League Baseball theme?
Well, I don't care about the Ivy League so much.
Home on your Amazon Alexa.
I'd almost, with the Ivy League switching to the spring, what are the odds of college football starting on time? Because nobody gives two shits about the Ivy.
Okay. But the thing is, they didn't switch yet. They're just considering it.
Well, we're all trying to wash our hands 10, maybe 50, 100 times a day now. So when you touch your contact lenses in the morning, are you also thinking about...
There's part of me that I know we can. I just want to go, how often are you wearing a mask?
Think about that. So it might be a great time.
All the time, only if I have to. I'm the lady from Trader Joe's throwing groceries at people.
Savings that make the procedure much more affordable.
Wait, run that by me. I'm just laughing about the Trader Joe's. Run that by me again?
I said, how often do you wear a mask? All the time, only if I have to. I'm the lady from Trader Joe's throwing groceries because they want me to wear a mask. So, I have my neighbor who got the kid that goes to Florida. He proudly had his Trump 2020 sticker on there. And I said to his dad, I said, look, I don't give a damn who anybody votes for. I said, he really going back to Gainesville with that on his truck? He's like, he can handle himself. Guess what came off the truck 2 days ago?
Dan Martineau here, owner of DR Martineau Roofing of Southwest Florida.
Anything anyone said?
Don't know. I said something to him when I saw him, too. I said, Nick, you can do what you want to do. I said, but you're bringing a lot of attention to yourself when you go back to campus. Just telling. I said, I like you. You're a good kid. I don't care who you vote for. I said, but do you really need extra attention?
Now back to Miller and Moulton.
All right, now we're getting somewhere.
No. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
10 minutes before the top of the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming once again at millerandmoulton.com, broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels. You can chime into the show via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line at 479-5551, 479-5551. Got to hand it to the Bills backers out there. They spread the word. Mark, let me tell you, they might be the most effective local NFL fan base in terms of getting out the vote. Whenever there's a Miller and Moulton poll question anyway that involves their team, you know, as Chris Berman famously said, you know, nobody, and I mean nobody, can circle the wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
It's true.
Well, they're backers as well. So if you're a local candidate and you're running for office, let me tell you, get the Bills backers on your side.
Nearly 50% of the vote says that the Bills will win the AFC East despite Cam Newton now being a Patriot. 35% said the Patriots. Over 15% delusionally voted for the Miami Dolphins.
Wow.
And 1.9% thought the poll question was a joke and picked the New York Jets.
48-35, and then the Dolphins edge the Jets 15-2. I actually think there's a better chance that Adam Gase gets fired this year than the Jets seriously contend for a playoff spot.
Look, I think there's a better chance that the Jets win less than 3 games than contend for a playoff spot.
Ooh. Wow.
Like 3 games or less.
So you think they're a leading candidate for first pick of the draft?
Oh, absolutely. We've pointed this out several times. The AFC East schedule is a lot more difficult than it was a year ago based on what we think of their opponents.
Didn't they win 7 games last year? 6 or 7 games last year?
Are they better or worse than they were a year ago?
Well, they're not worse. I will say that. I mean, their line was a sieve last year. Their wide receivers were not good, although
and they lost their best one.
Yeah, you could. And
Robbie Anderson's gone, and he's. You know what?
Robbie,
their receivers. Robbie Anderson's good. Yeah, he's a nice football player. He'd be a damn good addition. I mean, he is a solid addition to a team. That guy was a ball catching machine last year on a bad team.
I think we were surprised at what he ultimately signed for. I think it was between 10 and 12, and we're thinking, and a 2-year deal at that. And we looked at the Jets and went, "You mean to tell me you couldn't give Robbie Anderson like 2 for 22? Really? Have you looked at your roster lately?" So, I don't know they have much of a pass rush, but I got to figure they get more out of Le'Veon Bell this year than they did last year. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, over under, which I think is around 6, I'd go under. But, you know, there's a big difference between 5-11 and 3-13.
I got you. All I said was I think they have a better chance to be a 3-win team than to be somewhere around 8 contending for a playoff spot. That's all. I'm not saying they're going to win 3. You just said a better chance of Gase getting fired. I said there's a better chance of them winning 3 games than being a contender. I think that's a fair statement.
When arguably the best player on the team, not the most important, Sam Darnold's the most important, but Jamal Adams right now is the best player on that team. He wants out. Well, that's a beef with the GM over not getting a contract. But he did say that, I'm not really enamored with the head coach either. Got to be honest. So if you guys aren't going to pay me, I definitely don't want to be here. Well, I don't like playing for this guy.
I heard it yesterday during our show, Cowherd's promo, in which he says, let me get this right. You draft a guy with the expectation that he's going to be real good. And he ends up being really good. In fact, he might be the best at his position. And because you draft a guy who's now the best at his position, your decision is, we don't want to pay you. That's their logic.
And I think it's just that they don't want to pay him right now. I mean, he's 3 years into his 5-year rookie deal. And I think that they're just like, I know you don't want to hear this, but we don't have to pay you right now. And if you can huff and puff all you want. In fact, the way the system's set up, you're under contract for 2 more years, and we can tag you for the 2 years after that. I mean, we own you if we want to for the next 4 years. Now, if you want to stay home and not get your year of service and not get paid, that's on you.
Yeah,
but,
ask Le'Veon how that worked out for him.
Right. But we'll call your bluff. And so if you're Joe Douglas, you're looking at Jamal Adams going, I can get 7 years out of you. You'll almost be 30. You'll be in the 28, 29-year-old range, and I can move on from you if I want. So I just think that Joe Douglas doesn't want to set the precedent. Remember, he didn't draft Adams, but he's now the GM in which if he sets the precedent with Adams, where after 3 years on your rookie deal, we give you the big contract, which is what Carolina did with McCaffrey. They paid him.
Right. And see, I hate this whole precedent with the general manager because not every player is Adams. I could have no problem looking at whomever, the tackle, the D lineman, and saying, I don't know what to tell you. You're not one of the 3 best at your position. We paid him because if he's not the best safety in the game, he's one of the 3 best, and we think he's worth it. Don't know what to tell you. You're not one of the 3 best at your position. Pound sand.
I think, though, here's one more thing to throw out there to consider if you're Joe Douglas. If you pay Jamal Adams now, guess who will be 3 years into his 5-year rookie deal at the end of the 2020 season?
Sam Darnold.
There you go.
And he's not one of the 3 best at his position, and we don't know if he'll ever come close to that.
No.
From Southwest Florida's news
wow.
leader,
So John changed the clock back and never told us.
Ah.
I'm Teresa O'Shea with Wink News. Right now, the average number of positive cases statewide is at 16%, still above the 10%.
So, Giro, we break at 40
Here in
now.
Southwest Florida, the positive test rate is at nearly 19%.
Yeah, I just noticed that
Today,
too.
Collier
You heard me when I said 1 minute, right?
No,
I heard you, but I didn't.
1 minute.
I didn't have my clock up to know that I was at 40, not 50.
Right. You kind of lucked out there.
That worked out really well.
To get tested. They'll be open Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And new concerns over the long-term
All right, we need a question.
Has on
We
their bodies.
do,
Studies
and then
show
we need a
even
topic for this
asymptomatic
segment,
patients may
and
have
we're done.
abnormal lungs after contracting the virus. Trust Wink News, Southwest Florida's news leader.
Let's face it, these are stressful times. New routines, the constant bombardment of bad news, and
The Wall Street Journal just put out a tweet that says the Trump campaign showed that it recognizes the president may need more debates to close the gap with Biden. Probably right. If you're Biden, you don't just keep doing the plan you've got. Hide, don't talk.
Well, Trump a week or 2 ago said, I want to add a debate, go from 3 to 4. The Biden camp said, no, we're good.
Can we go from 3 to 2?
Yeah.
In fact, can we go from 3 to 1?
C4MH.com can make in your life. I've been a patient of C4MH.com for a couple of years, and recently I've lost 20 pounds because now I have the energy to work out from home. And that'll put you in a good mood, too. C4MH.com's express treatment plan is convenient, affordable, and above all, safe. And with locations all up and down West Florida, there's one near you right now. Find out more.
Here you go. How about this? Little off sports, but with apparent beaches closing everywhere.
If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan.
Will you go to the beach if it's open this weekend?
Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Beaches haven't closed here, have they?
Correct, but they're closed in Broward and Dade. I think they're going to close in, it looks like Sarasota's implementing masks.
Trending now, brought to you by the Center for Men's Health, C4MH.com.
I mean, it's not sports. I'm just spitballing here. And we got 60 seconds. And red. Red is the color today in Wink News, for anybody wondering.
I like it. I like it.
Broadway is staying closed through the end of the year. TMZ just tweeted.
There's only one way to wake up in the morning.
How the heck are you?
Yep, that's it. Miller.
You know what? I'll try to bring you back some fish.
And Moulton.
Okay, you drop it off at the front door.
Probably in the mailbox. We'll pack ice.
Broadcasting live from the Kobe Cooling Remote Studios, where it's always cool and comfortable.
Oh, I like
It's up to you now. It's up to you.
I like it.
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
Couple minutes past 7 o'clock on this final day of June in 2020. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming once again at millerandmoulton.com and broadcasting live once again on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and twitch.tv channels. You can chime in via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line 479-5551, 479-5551.
So, as many of you are aware, we're going to kind of deviate for our poll question today. We'll get back to sports here in a second. But just having a little poll question for the masses. Because
little R&D, aren't you?
Little R&D, helping out the Lee County and Collier County commissioners. Doing a little work for them.
Okay.
Because the beaches on the other coast are closed. Dayton,
Right.
Broward shut their beaches down for the July 4th weekend, which means that a lot of folks from the East Coast are heading this way for the July 4th weekend. I don't know how you could figure it any other way. So, as of now, our beaches are open. I think Collier didn't have any indication that they were closing.
No.
And I don't think Lee will either.
I don't think so.
So will you be going to the beach this weekend in Southwest Florida? Yes or no? That's it.
That's it? Yay or nay?
With the beaches closing in other parts of the state for the July 4th weekend, will you be going to the beach this weekend in Southwest Florida?
Yay or nay? That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, millerandmoulton.com. That's where you can see and vote on our poll question. Probably a nay in this household.
Oh, I guarantee you a nay in this household.
Although, believe it or not, wife last week was talking about it.
Going to the beach?
Yes. She was almost plotting like Rommel in the desert.
Miss Coronavirus March 2020?
Yes. I'm telling you, she was Rommel in North Africa. She really was. She was plotting last week. She's like, do you think it's possible that we could go find some place that isn't that crowded and just sit by ourselves for an hour? And I'm like, well, at an outdoor restaurant or something? She's like, no, just, we can find a place on a beach, And so I'm like, so in other words, Fort Myers Beach is out.
What is this, a Corona ad?
Yeah.
Find your beach?
Yes. Yes. That's exactly what she wanted.
I'll tell you what, my advice to you and to her would be this. We are taking Friday off because it is a company holiday for the company that pays us, even though we don't work for them.
Correct.
So we are taking it off so that Giro doesn't have to work on Friday.
Right.
I would suggest Thursday evening, dinner time, find your beach, maybe for sunset.
Okay.
Because I think by the time Friday rolls around, it's going to be crazy.
So you don't think we'll be able to sneak out on Friday and do it?
Not a chance.
Have to do it Thursday night.
Well, that's not true. Friday morning, early, 8, 9 o'clock.
Okay. All right.
But if you're looking for your little spot of beach without a boat.
Right. But she was plotting like Rommel in the desert. I was living with the desert fox over the weekend. She was trying to figure out where it is that we could go. And I'm like, what are you, like a movie star that wants to go somewhere and not get recognized? She's like, no, I just want to go somewhere where there are no people. And I go, well, that's our house.
It's kind of always been that way and always will.
Exactly. 479-5551. 479-5551. The Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. Hey, listen, I got time to kill. All right. My mind was wandering. I had golf on the brain yesterday because of the whole, Fox, NBC, USGA thing. Was thinking a lot. And was thinking about, some of what had transpired in the 4 U.S. Opens that I was lucky enough to be at, et cetera, et cetera. And we had talked yesterday about Dustin Johnson and how he won his 21st career tournament. And he won a tournament over the weekend for the 13th consecutive year that he has won a tournament. So he's tied at 21 wins with Davis Love III and Lanny Watkins. And the reason why I like bringing this up is, to me, this is 3 golfers from 3 different eras. Lanny was a 70s and 80s guy. DL3 was a late 80s, 90s guy.
Would have been into the 2000s unless this guy named Woods came along.
Right. And obviously, Dustin Johnson is late 2000s and all through last decade. And now, I think he's 36. So, you got to figure he's going to have at least half of this coming decade, and we'll see how his game, holds up. But of the 3, you'd like to play the game with me with Today Was the Day When, in which you'll have 3 people who were all born within like a year of one another, and I have to figure out which one's oldest. Rank them youngest to oldest, and vice versa. If you had to rank these 3, Dustin Johnson, Davis Love III, Lanny Watkins, all 3 won 21 tour events, and all 3 have so far only won 1 major.
I'd go DJ, Lanny Watkins, DL3. DJ, if he doesn't win another major, will fall into the same categories as the Normans and Couples of the world that maybe didn't use all of their potential.
Weiskopf.
Yeah, I think Lanny Watkins got as much out of his career as he possibly could have. Lanny Watkins was a grinder, and a battler, and had no problem coming down the stretch and winning a tournament. DL3, who knows what would have been after Tiger, but mentally he crumbled when Tiger came on the scene. He just did. And Dustin, even though he is one of my least favorite players on tour, he's battled his addictions and come back, battled a couple of health issues and come back. And right now, listening to what his brother caddies for him, right? Yep. His brother commenting over the weekend, like, look at, he was, all those guys know him that cover the sport. And he just kept saying, he's healthy. I'm just telling you, he's healthy. And nobody wanted to buy it until they started watching how he played. And right now, if DJ's healthy, as his brother says he is, he's going to be very dangerous for the rest of this year. Now, I don't know if he can get another major. I really don't, because I've never thought he was a good enough putter. But I would rank DJ the number 1 out of those 3.
Here's how talented he is. And he was not BSing anybody. Remember, the Colonial was only 6... the final round of the Colonial anyway, but the Colonial was 19 days ago. It'll be 3 weeks on Thursday that the PGA Tour started up again. It hasn't been back all that long. And when DJ showed up at Fort Worth and they said, hey, how's your game? What you been working on? And he said, I haven't done much of anything. That's 19 days ago. Now, I get it. He's a top 5 player in the world. Right. I get it. He's talented. But the other guys, they all were talking about, I worked on my swing and I'd honed it, the whole deal, and I'm ready to go. And Rory showed up at a course he had never played before and shot, like 64 the first round at Colonial? He was raring to go. DJ's like, I haven't done much of anything.
By the way, DJ's hardly ever played the course he just won at either.
Right. And he had played Colonial like twice in the last 10 years. And so he's like, no, I'm playing this week. I got to play my way back into shape. And he was not BSing. He missed the cut. And last week the week before was more in his backyard. I mean, he's a South Carolina guy who went to Coastal Carolina, and RBC is a big sponsor of his, and it was the RBC Heritage, and it's kind of sort of in his backyard, and he loves that tournament, loves the course, and he played pretty well. And boom, now he wins, just like that. Remember, the guy shows up at Fort Worth, and he's not joking. His brother backed him up. He goes, no, he hasn't been doing much of anything, actually. He's just been, staying healthy.
But he's
getting healthy, having fun, and, living the good life, as DJ can. But this is how talented he is. In less than 3 weeks' time, he went from, I really haven't picked up the clubs much, to winning.
And winning with, I don't know about adversity, but didn't bring his A game into the house, if you know what I mean.
No.
Throws it in the bunker on 16. He hit a drive out of bounds on the final round. I mean, he didn't go lap the field and still got it into the clubhouse and won.
Right.
With guys making birdies all over the place.
I'll mention it, though. I really think it has helped these guys. There are no roars. Now DJ, I mean, let's face it, DJ walks around like Fred Couples. I mean, you don't know if he's playing around to golf or if he's, reading a book at a library. I mean, he's so unemotional when he plays.
Wow, at least that's assuming he can read.
Come on now. But down the stretch, I mean, he hits a tee shot out of bounds on the par 5. On 15, he nearly drives it into the water. I mean, he got a huge break. I mean, the ball lands 2 feet from the water and sits on a downslope, tilted towards the water, and doesn't go in the drink. And he can play it out and make par. And then on the next hole, when he's got 9-iron in his hand, he puts it in the bunker and makes bogey. I mean, it's not like he had his A game down the stretch. And he still won. That's how talented he is.
And the one thing I will say about galleries not helping or hurting is what happens when you're hitting those shots and you're getting, not the cackles, but you're just getting the murmurs. And it's just all a murmur up to the green. You know what I'm saying? It's not they don't boo you at golf tournaments, but there's just that. Does that creep into your head more other than no sound?
The one thing that I did think of watching, and I watched a lot of the Travelers last week and weekend, is with no gallery, there were some shots that went out of bounds that I don't think normally would have.
Because they hit people.
You're right. And in this time, you know what they hit? They hit the ground. And they kept ricocheting. And they kept heading towards the OB. Phil sculls a sand shot on the par 5. Well, if there was a gallery, there would have been people on the other side. That thing doesn't go out of bounds and end up on the railroad tracks.
I have been trying for the longest time at Estero Country Club to line people up on a couple of holes that I have trouble with.
Maybe for the member guest next
year? Just a couple of holes. I mean, if we could just get them on the left side on 2, it would be really nice.
So me and a few others need to follow your group next year. And
get out in front. Get out in front and put a wall.
Hey, guys, if you could just go halfway down this fairway on the left side, I'd really appreciate it.
Stand right by those white stakes.
479-5551, 479-5551 on the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. It was a good feeling yesterday was to think about football with Cam signing with the Patriots. Our poll question got me just thinking about it. It was fun for me to go, okay, you're $20, Moulton. Who you putting it on, Bills or Patriots? Come on now, man up. It's time.
You know what I found interesting? Our interview with Matt Chatham yesterday is that he likes that roster more than anybody that we talked to.
Yes.
Pat Kerwin, when Tom left to go to the Bucs, I asked Pat, currently, what record does that roster say to you? 5-11. 5-11 is what Pat Kerwin said. Without Belichick, what does that roster say to you? And he said 5-11. That's not at all what Matt Chatham was saying yesterday. And that surprised the hell out of me, is how confident he was in where the New England Patriots are right now.
I mean, they lost 4 starters on defense. They lost a guy who, if assistant coaches, if there was a wing in the Hall of Fame for assistant coaches, I mean, first off, the gentleman who passed away on Sunday, Joe Bugle, many people think he would have been in it as one of the greatest offensive line coaches of all time. But another great offensive line coach just retired on the Patriots in Dante Scarnecchia. All right, so they lost their famed offensive line coach. They lost 4 starters on defense. Oh, yeah, they lost their all-everything quarterback. And when I look at the skill weapons for the Patriots, I'm like, yeah, Cam at some point when he gets comfortable enough to whisper it out of the side of his mouth is going to be like, man, this reminds me of a couple of those years in Carolina after they got rid of Steve Smith, in which it was like, man, there's not a whole lot here.
So, I mean, Sanu, Edelman, okay.
Counting on, well, and both older. Sanu's got to get healthy again. Edelman's got to have another year. I mean, he's in his mid-30s now as an undersized slot receiver. I mean, when does he hit the wall? Because when he hits it, it's over. There's no second win for Edelman. You know, it was the same thing with Wes Welker. I mean, once Welker in his second year with Denver in 2014, once he hit that wall, it was over. I mean, he's got nothing else to fall back on. And how much does Edelman truly have left in the tank? I mean, now we could wonder the same thing about the guy who was throwing him passes last year. I mean, we can. He's 43. When's he going to hit the wall? And did he start to hit it in the second half of last year? You know, that's the other thing that we're going to find out at some point this year, Mark, is, you know, they were undefeated at the midway point of last season. They went 4-5 in their last 9 games, did the New England Patriots. I mean, remember, they had a lot to play for. A lot to play for. They lost at home to the Dolphins in late December.
That, by all accounts, changed the Super Bowl winner.
Yeah, I think it did. I think it did. And so, you know, just how good are they? Because they were undefeated at the midway point of the season and went 4-5 in their last 9 games. And the team that went 4-5 in their last 9 games lost their quarterback, 4 starters on defense, and their offensive line coach. And they're playing a tougher schedule this year.
And the year that the offensive line coach retired the first time was a down year for the Patriots with everything still in order. So much so that Belichick begged him to come out of retirement to fix his offensive line.
Right. He basically told them, he said, Dante, I don't know what to tell you. I just need you more than whatever your wife and your family need you. I need
They
you.
haven't seen you in 40 years. What the hell's another year?
Yeah, you've been around them now for a year or two. They're sick of you. Come on. Let's come back. Let's do this. Let's put Humpty Dumpty back together again. Did you see how many times Brady got hit in that AFC Championship game? Don't make me send Tom over to your house. Come on. Just agree to come back. But it was nice to think about it yesterday. And the NFL is still end of July, you know, July 28th, I believe. They've said to all teams, hey, training camp's going to be normal. Everybody shows up July 28th and, you know, knock yourself out. We'll do the best we can. Now, I think they'll pull back on the preseason. I think we'll have very few games. No more than 2 for each team. I think it's possible we have none.
I'd vote 2 if you want me to guess right now. But I think you're on to something.
But college football does it every year. And week 1, it can be sloppy. There's no doubt about it. There's usually a lot of penalties, and week 1 can be sloppy in college football. But, you know, somehow the sport seems to be doing okay.
But this just in, there's a lot of penalties in week 1 of the NFL too, David.
Yes, there are. Yes, there are. I will say, though, worst year imaginable to be a late round draft pick or an undrafted free agent. You got to imagine this is the worst year since, I don't know, the modern era of the NFL. It's got to be the worst year in 30, 40 years to be drafted in the 6th or 7th round or be an undrafted free agent. Now, maybe they'll have enough time to do enough work and for 5 weeks before the season, and maybe these guys will get close to the opportunity to show themselves that they normally get. But I would think that, and maybe
good year for veterans, then, is what you're telling me.
I think so. I do. And especially now, it may turn out to be a good year for both at the beginning, because if they go the expanded roster route, which we think they will. So maybe that's how those guys, the younger guys in particular, they're going to get their opportunity. They're just going to be kept around longer, but I don't know that they'll be playing right away. I think that they may just have to be war of attrition type deal. Unless teams are already looking ahead cap-wise. See, to me, I would hold on to my veterans this year, Mark, because my fear is next year's cap could go in the wrong direction. This is the last year I may get out of my middle-class guys, if you will, on my roster. I may have to gut this group after this year.
It is the one thing we've talked with Pat about several times, and it will be the biggest thing in the NFL going forward to the 2021 season is what to do with the cap. Because as David pointed out, if we don't have fans, we've brought this up, it's $3 to $4 billion in revenue. The NFL will not make as much money this year as it's made in the past. Therefore, how much does the cap go down? And do they defer that cost over 4 or 5 years to keep the cap going up, or do they take a one-time hit? And I think it is, it's way down the road, but it will be the biggest story, non-football story, post-football season.
I mean, it's simple math. And if you were with us a week ago today, Pat did it for us. Cap's $200 million. Final minute of Pat's appearance last week. He said cap's currently right around $200 million. It's been going up 10% a year. That would mean next year's cap would normally go to $220. Well, if you're doing it strictly by revenue, they're going to lose a quarter of their revenue with little to no fans in the stands. Now, take 25% off of a $200 million salary cap, and what do you take off? That's $50 million. And he said, let's just play it a little safer than that. Let's take 20% off. Now, all of a sudden, the cap that's 200 that should go to 220 could go to 160.
That's a Patrick Mahomes that just walked away from that.
Right. That's Russell Wilson going, okay, that's about what I'd play for. That's it. Mm-hmm.
So a couple of things it could lead to a couple of things. Even though they're in the middle of a CBA, there's always been a lot of talk of removing quarterbacks from the cap. Would that happen? Or do they just have to play a very frugal year?
See, like if this was baseball, we feel pretty confident the relationship between the owners and the players would just stick it to the players. The owners would go, hey, I don't know what to tell you. We do a revenue sharing. Revenue went down. Here's what the cap is. Suck it up. Okay. Football, if you're football, because, come on now. You're Jerry Jones. You think you're close. You do. Now, the outside world may not think you're as close, but Jerry thinks he has a Super Bowl team. Does Jerry want to gut this team after 2020? Does Jerry want to lose 2 of those offensive linemen? One of his linebackers? One of his defensive linemen? Because that's what Jerry would have to gut his team. Oh, yeah, and he's got a quarterback that's saying, I don't know what to tell you. You got to pay me. You're going to do, if you're Jerry, what the Rams just did to Gurley? You're going to cut Zeke after this year? Seriously. Can you afford, if they reduce the cap from 200 to 160 and you're the Cowboys, can you afford a $15 million tailback? I don't know. I don't think these owners, for as much as the owners would love to save $40 million, I don't know if the owners want to gut their teams to do it. Miller and Moulton.
When we come back, we'll switch from Sundays to Saturdays. Lawton Swan works for ClemsonSportsTalk.com. He has written a piece that says football will not take place in 2020. We'll find out why he thinks those things coming up next. Miller and Moulton, thanks so much for listening. Fox Sports Radio, where we stream every show at MillerandMoulton.com.
This is The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
New rule on the show. If a team drafts you anywhere, first round, sixth round, and within 2 years of being drafted, you are arguably, or maybe even not, the best player at your position, just pay the guy. So the Jets draft Jamal Adams. He becomes the best player in the league at his position. And suddenly that's a problem. No. That's what you're hoping for.
Colin Cowherd. Weekdays at noon on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
You should be driving a Kia from Galliana. Galliana Kia.
Trade in and trade up. Over $500,000 in trade-in assistance up for grabs at Galliana Kia in Fort Myers. 2020 Kia Forte LXS lease. 0 down. $159 per month. 2020 Kia Sorrento LX lease. 0 down. $259 per month. Plus at Galliana Kia in Fort Myers, you can drive interest-free up to 72 months and worry-free for 100,000 miles. Worried about your credit? Don't sweat it. If you've got $500 down and you make at least $500 per week, our lenders can get you approved. At Galliana Kia, 1/2 mile south of Daniels Parkway on US 41 in Fort Myers. Open every day, including Sunday. Call 239-481-2600. GallianaCars.com.
You should be driving a Kia from Galliana. Galliana Kia.
36-month lease is 10,000 miles per year, 0 due at signing plus tax, tag, title, dealer, and acquisition fee, 0 security deposit, $13.88 per month per thousand borrowed for 72 months at 0 APR with 0 down, lender approval.
It's Fred Kobe with your Kobe Cooling Tip of the Day. I grew up in the air conditioning business, and over the decades, I've tried to protect this industry from the scam artists and the bad actors. I've volunteered to help law enforcement all across the area and the Attorney General programs to investigate scams and ripoffs to help protect all the people of our community. I've paid a price for looking out for the people of Southwest Florida, from being called names to having the bad guys sue or threaten to sue me
David?
to get me to shut up so that you won't know the facts about their scams.
That Amoni
To
Bates?
me, it was all worth it to help protect
He'll be here
the most important
Christmas
people in
time.
our world.
City
I'll
of Palms?
never cower
Yep.
to the bad guys.
Donnie announced
I'll
it
always look
yesterday.
out for my friends
It's
and
the first
neighbors
team
in
from
Southwest
Michigan I ever
Florida.
remember
It's
coming.
one of the main reasons we say what we
Yipsy
say in our
Aim
slogan,
High
Kobe,
Prep.
the most trusted name in this business since 1949. I'm doing it the way my dad did it, and my kids will follow suit. License CACO 57313.
I'm a busy person.
Catch the show
Well, that means
anytime.
Izzo will
Check
come
out
down at least once.
MillerandMoulton.com and subscribe to the daily podcasts.
Attention, Southwest Florida. Are you
Let me
ready
know when
for
we're a
this?
minute out, please, Gio.
Only Naples Nissan will give you $8,000 over
Actually,
Kelley
right
Blue
now.
Book value.
Well,
for
there you
your
have it.
trade-in. Hundreds of new SUV models to choose from, all backed by our exclusive unlimited mile lifetime warranty. Pick out your favorite at NaplesNissan.com. Then come see us on Pine Ridge Road to find out the KBB.com current market value for your trade-in, and we'll give you $8,000 more so you can drive that brand new Nissan home today. If KBB says it's worth $5,000, Naples
Good
Nissan
morning.
will give you
Lawton, Mark
$13,000.
Miller, and
Hey,
David,
guys.
David Moulton in Southwest Florida. How are you?
KBB says 10.
I'm great.
We'll give
How are
you
y'all?
18.
We are very good. Going on in about
You
well,
must
20 or
act
30
fast, though.
seconds.
Visit NaplesNissan.com
Perfect.
for full details.
Again, thanks for your time. David will go first.
Offer on
I'm
select
Mark. I'll
models
go
with
second.
credit and cannot be combined.
And here we go.
All right, sounds good.
Back to
Thank
Miller
you.
and Moulton. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
And as we rapidly approach the bottom of the hour, 29 minutes past 7 o'clock on this final day of June in 2020. Thanks for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at millerandmoulton.com and broadcasting live once again on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and twitch.tv channel. Seth Everett at the top of the hour, Pat Kerwin to talk plenty of NFL 1 hour from now. It is a pleasure to welcome Lawton Swan, he of ClemsonSportsTalk.com, ClemsonSportsTalk.com. You can follow Lawton on Twitter at Clemson Sports. And Lawton, they say that a columnist, really becomes a columnist when they can tell their audience something that they don't want to hear. Well, congratulations. I'm sure you've done it many times before, but writing a piece yesterday on ClemsonSportsTalk.com saying, I don't think this college football thing's going to happen in 2020. I'm sure that went over well.
Yeah, it's difficult because I'm not a doom and gloom guy, gentlemen. I mean, I'm generally an optimist, but I told my listeners, because of the uncertainty that we obviously have with COVID-19, I said, look, over the summer, I'm going to reevaluate this thing monthly, and we're going to roll with that for the month. And on June 1st, looking at the things that were going on in less populated areas of our country, I thought the only schools that would have significant problems might be UCLA, might be Southern Cal, because of, just the populations of those cities. Maybe even Rutgers at that time was sort of in my mindset of a school that might have some issues from the standpoint of Power 5 programs. But as we see the trends across the country, now this obviously excludes death rates, which I know is a big argument for people, but I haven't seen anything compelling enough over the past month to make me believe that we're going to be scheduled up for football in the fall. And I certainly think that the athletic departments are beginning to recognize that. And I know that they realize they've got to play it. So there is a responsibility between the fiscal side of things and the health side of things that I think continue to really butt heads, not just in sports, but nationally. And I haven't seen enough evidence to be presenting to my audience that we'll be playing this fall. So we've reevaluated, and I think you're probably going to see it pushed back until the spring. And the best case scenario right now might be squeezing something in at the back end of 2020. But I do not see Clemson kicking off the college football season September the 3rd in Atlanta, because there's not an infinite amount of time, and we still have too many unknowns.
Okay. Part of this to me and to David and I has always been, are kids going to be on campus? Because if kids aren't on campus, you can't justify playing football. If you're going to put kids in dormitories, explain to me you're not going to have football. So I know they're separate issues, but to us, they're kind of intertwined. When you're saying this, what do you think the odds of classes starting with kids in class and kids in dorms are come this fall?
That's a great question, because I think that you have essentially an ideal situation right now at Clemson. They came back on June the 1st. They went to begin, individual workouts and things of that nature on June the 8th. But then by June 12th, the announcement came out that Clemson had 2 cases. Then on June 19th, there were 23 cases. Then this past week, there were 14 cases. That's 39 cases with minimal student contact and interaction and small numbers of kids on the campus. If the general population of students comes back, where I think this becomes a much greater cause of concern, is that the numbers of football players who do get COVID-19 begin to escalate. And I don't think, when kids have the flu, we can expect them to play from time to time. People referenced a game between Clemson and Florida State several years ago where the Seminoles locker room was hit with the flu and they were still out there. But we know a lot more about the flu, and we're comfortable with the outcomes of what happens and how to treat the flu. There's still so many unknowns, and that's the thing for me. So if kids come back to college, I understand where you're coming from, because that's saying, hey, if those students can be on campus, why can't those kids play college football? I think at that point, it might become more so about how many kids are infected. What if your entire quarterback your quarterback room gets it? Can people play? Should we expect kids to play who are asymptomatic? Is that fine with everybody? I don't know. And quite frankly, from Clemson's numbers, there haven't been hospitalizations, and everybody focuses on the 50% that are asymptomatic. But what about the 50% that are? And with schools not reporting their numbers right now, we don't know what it looks like for anybody. So Clemson's got high enough numbers that guys like Boomer Esiason were saying, well, maybe Clemson's trying to, give herd immunity to the whole team. Yet we don't really know if players can or cannot be reinfected. We haven't had any reinfections, fortunately, in the United States that have been documented yet. But we don't know what that window is, and we don't know if that's even something that's plausible or possible. So from that standpoint, again, the unknowns, guys, I think are the thing that are going to drive this more so than low death rates or whether or not students are on campus. The unknowns of asymptomatic, symptomatic, playing with COVID, not playing with it, I think that's what we're seeing across the country right now, is that uncertainty is leading to closures, and that could ultimately be what happens to push back college football.
He's Lawton Swan of ClemsonSportsTalk.com, ClemsonSportsTalk.com. Follow him on Twitter at Clemson Sports. Lawton, are you
because this sounds more like this is your gut feeling at this moment in time. Are you getting any information, any gut feeling from anyone at Clemson? I mean, is anybody whispering out of the side of their mouth some of what you're thinking and feeling? Because, everything that we're seeing is that the major universities, from university presidents to ADs to conference commissioners to head coaches, they're all like, well, this is when you report. This is when kids will be on campus. And this is when the season is going to start. There's no one at a major university that is saying we're not going to have kids on campus and we're not going to start in late August. And I'm just wondering, are you getting anything from someone in a position of power at Clemson?
No, not yet. And I think I don't think they can at this point, because I think they have to continue to believe that they've got to push forward. I think if you present that option right now as somebody that's a power broker in college football, the backlash is going to be tremendous. So no, not from anybody from that standpoint. But I think that the responsibility of these universities and the fact that, if they knew today that they could make the same amount of money and not play the games, there is no chance they would play these games. There is no chance. What it comes down to is fiscally, they can't afford to not play these games. So they've got this balancing act that they've got to try to navigate. I don't have the answers. I wouldn't want to be Dan Radakovich. I wouldn't want to be somebody, in the athletic department or in one of the conference offices that has to make this call. It was bad enough when you have to end the Atlantic Coast Conference basketball tournament and shut down March Madness. College football is the driving force behind everything you see in college athletics. And to step up and say, we're not playing, is something that nobody is going to do until it's absolutely impossible to make that happen. And that window is closing. I mean, we think about the month you're going to have in July, guys, to look at August with 4 weeks until the college football season to go, you know what? We're going to be out there on the field playing. I mean, we're running out of time. And at some point, somebody's going to have to step up and say the things that need to be said, because at this point, I haven't seen a piece of evidence that would make me believe we're playing outside of low death rates. And if death rates have to be the measure for this group of individuals, of student athletes who aren't high risk, and I mean, we were all kids, we were all young adults. I mean, these guys already feel like they're invincible. So now we're saying, hey, you're not in the high risk group. If the kids get back on campus, man, numbers across the country, in my opinion, will skyrocket. And then ultimately, what about older coaches? Frank Solich is 75. You got coaches and coordinators on staffs that are older. I mean, those guys are in the high-risk group. You got coaches like James Franklin who are having to self-isolate because he's got a daughter with sickle cell anemia. You got Dave Clawson at Wake Forest who's going to isolate from his wife, Catherine, for the entire year because she's a cancer survivor. I mean, these are things that are happening right now just so that they can get back out on the field. I cannot see it happening unless something changes significantly between the last day in June and the first day in August. And so far, the way 2000 is going, or 2020 is going, I don't know that we're going to see anything that'll present enough evidence for me to change my mind.
Lawton, and I keep bringing up the students, but that to me is the biggest part of this. You talk about the money in college football, and there is no doubt. David and I have said this for a while. The entire university system depends on kids being on campus. These 2 days seem to be going with one another. I've not heard of any schools saying they're delaying their start. But from a financial model, I do know for a fact, because I was with a professor at Rutgers over the weekend who's my wife's best friend, and said they're already hearing about deferments and people not coming back in the fall and freshmen not starting. Are you hearing any of those things in Clemson? Because that's also a part of the economic model. If we don't have dorm rooms and we don't have cafeterias and all the other people, I mean, that it's the biggest business in Clemson, South Carolina is Clemson, and all of the other businesses that go around that. If kids aren't there, I mean, it shuts down cities.
Yeah, in Clemson specifically. I mean, when your town is named after the college or your college is named after the town, whichever way you want to look at it, I mean, it's a big issue. And, there certainly have been those conversations in this state with folks at South Carolina. Those have had to be happening, for educators across the country right now, because there's so much potential virtual learning that'll be taking place. And, thank goodness we are in an era where we have that as an option to be able to keep some of those doors open for people to receive their education. But, I think it will be a compelling argument for playing if students are on campuses, in large numbers in the fall. But at this point, I know my niece is a student at Clemson. Everything still seems to be very much up in the air. They've got plans in place. Lots of people have put plans in place for, the different phases of getting back to, I guess, quote unquote, normal. But right now, I don't think when we look at those numbers nationally, how quickly things are beginning to rise in terms of the infection rates, you look at that by comparison to what those numbers looked like a month ago. I think if the hospitals continue to gain more and more, or I guess technically lose more and more beds, but gain more and more people, in the numbers that we're seeing, I think you start to impact the health system again. And that's not just a college football thing at that point. That becomes a national issue again that I think we all thought, and I think rightfully so, based on what we were hearing at the time, was we were doing pretty okay. We had a couple of hot spots in New York and other areas, and everybody else was fine, but now, when I talk to people at MUSC, the Medical University of South Carolina, and they're like, look, our beds are full. And I go, oh, well, okay, well, all right, well, where do we go from there? If the things don't start to calm down in our country with COVID-19 over the next month, projecting that there's a college football season in 2020 is very difficult, in my opinion.
Lawton, final question for me, and it's a personal one. You mentioned your niece. Is she planning on being on campus at Clemson?
She hasn't told me what her plans are. I was actually on the phone with her for just a little bit yesterday, and she was saying, she, just like every other, teenager, she's tired of having the social distance and all that, but she's very, keenly aware of what's going on because some of her friends have tested positive for COVID-19. So, she's like, I don't want to have to deal with that. But from that standpoint, I don't think that, while that demographic isn't high risk, there's a tipping point, I think, just from coast to coast that could still keep college football from taking place. And I can't imagine what it would sound like if we just said, hey, you know what, we're running these college athletes out there no matter what, even in the all new image use and likeness era where they are going to, at some point down the line, eventually be able to be compensated. I know that's not taking place to that degree at this point, but wouldn't that be ironic that for all these years, right when they get that type of benefit given to them, we're then going, hey, in the midst of a health crisis, you know what, we could really use some entertainment for you guys. I would keep my eye on the NBA. They are in an isolated situation. See what happens there. I would keep my eye on Major League Baseball. But from where I sit today, there hasn't really been anything compelling enough to imagine that if college students are on campuses, that there wouldn't be enough health issues in terms of kids being symptomatic with COVID-19 that are on football teams across the country to even keep things up and running for an entire year. You'd probably end up shutting it down. I think your best case scenario is to push it back. And if you have to push it back to 2021 and kick it off in January, go for it and try to make your money then. But until we know more about COVID-19, which seems to be morphing every single day, I think the unknowns continue to outweigh the knowns, and that's a big problem for athletic directors trying to get out on the field because it is health versus finances, and anybody that's putting finances over health is going to probably be, essentially shot down by the masses when that time, when push comes to shove.
He's Lawton Swan. You can find what he wrote yesterday at clemsonsportstalk.com, clemsonsportstalk.com. College football unlikely to take place in 2020. You can follow Lawton on Twitter at Clemson Sports. Lawton, appreciate you making time for us, particularly at this hour. All the best, and we may revisit this between now and, kickoff of the season, whenever that takes place.
Guys, I hope so. I'm typically an optimist, but I haven't seen anything compelling enough to tell me that they'll be playing football September the 3rd. I can tell you that.
Lawton, I'm just going to tell you right now, your inbox is going to be full of a lot of hating type of emails. Save the two or three best ones. Save the 2 or 3 best ones, and 3 or 4 years from now, read them and laugh hysterically. I think it's great therapy.
I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks, guys.
Lawton Swan, kind enough to join us. Mark, I got 2 texts during this interview. 2 texts. The first one, wow, another smart sports guy. All right, that was the first one. The second text I got, okay, as long as we have idiots in this country like this guy, okay, we are never going to move on. All right. Those are the 2 texts I got. They were right on top of one another.
Yep. Well, most of the people inside our Twitch chat room saying they disagree with him. Look it. I don't know, but this weekend, as I mentioned, my wife's best friend's a professor at Rutgers. What she was telling me and what she's hearing about people coming back to campus was alarming from a financial standpoint for that university. It's nothing to do with sports and the online stuff. She happens to teach equine nutrition to a vet school there. So the people there have to be hands-on. But as you said, David, when you start going all virtual, again, tell me why you're not going to Southwest New Hampshire State or whatever the hell it is.
Well, right, because Southern New Hampshire University is a hell of a lot cheaper than Rutgers.
You're damn right it is.
So
when my son called me to tell me his summer accounting class was learn on your own, literally, he emailed the professor and said, there's no virtual classes. He's supposed to watch videos and take his toughest accounting class to get into the business school. And he said to me, Dad, I'm dropping it. I said, I hope so. Because I said, what the hell am I paying for? For you to teach yourself? $1,000 for one class for you to teach yourself? Are you out of your mind?
Miller and Moulton. 13 minutes before the top of the hour. Seth Everett in 15 minutes time. Pat Kerwin in about 40 minutes time, as players are opting out of playing in Major League Baseball. And we'll talk to Pat about Cam to the Patriots and a whole lot more. But when we come back, today was the day when on Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Drive home with the Doug Gottlieb Show.
Avery Bradley, I guess he's too woke to work. What Avery wants is he wants the best of both worlds. He wants to be able to be recognized as protesting instead of playing. On the other hand, he doesn't want to be criticized for it, so he puts the family thing out there. And I am a reasonable person. It all feels like he's hiding behind the family.
Doug Gottlieb, afternoons at 3 on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau. You can count on us for great service. You can count on us to get it done. You can count on us for a price that's fair. The quality is second to none. For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
No matter where you're boating, with Towboat US, you're covered by the world's largest towing fleet with over 300 ports nationwide. Your local Towboat US companies in Charlotte, Lee, and Collier counties are here to help 24/7, 365 days a year. Inland, the river to Lake O, and out 75 nautical miles. And new membership pricing starts as low as $99. Call 239-945-1664 for more information. Or visit towboatuscapecoral.com. With Towboat US, you're never stuck on the water. When we talk the talk,
this is what we talk about.
He's talking about right and wrong.
We back it up.
Talk about what you know.
We're Fox Sports Radio. And when we talk the talk,
a lot of sports stuff to talk about.
We back it up.
Good sports talk radio
on Fox Sports Radio.
We've got our good friend Tim Meister, owner of the Four Meisters in Naples, on the phone. We're talking about their huge selection and great pricing on Core-Tec flooring. Tim, tell us what's new at the store.
Right now we have 90 colors of Core-Tec in stock, ready to go pick up, put down as soon as you want it. Everything from starting at $299 on up with lifetime warranty.
And it's not just the many colors of Core-Tec that you have. You also have other Core-Tec products as well.
We also carry the Core-Tec stone product. Looks like tile, material, looks like stone, but it's Cortex, so you get the softness, quietness, and the easy installation to go with it. We also have Cortex wood, look of wood, real wood, but with a more stable core for Southwest Florida's humidity.
If you haven't been to the Floormeisters, you really owe it to yourself to visit the store. 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go online, floormeisters.com. That's floormeisters.com.
Let's face it, these are stressful times. New routines, the constant bombardment of bad news, and trying to keep you and your family safe all the time. It's Frank for Center for Men's Health. During these stressful times, your mood is so critical, and nothing's more important to a guy's mood than testosterone. The single greatest issue for guys with low T is mood, and the single greatest change for men that get low T care is a greatly improved mood. Many are grumpy when they start, and most can't believe how much their mood improves once they get treated. And everything improves once your mood improves. Feel the difference C4MH.com can make in your life. I've been a patient of C4MH.com for a couple of years, and recently I've lost 20 pounds because now I have the energy to work out from home. And that'll put you in a good mood too. C4MH.com's express treatment plan is convenient, affordable, and above all, safe. And with locations all up and down West Florida, there's one near you right now.
Like right now, Mark, do you hear the station fine?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, and it was digitizing and going crazy. The volume goes up, it goes down. It's very weird for me.
You're live.
And as we approach 8 minutes before 8 o'clock, thanks so much for listening to Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Miss any part of the show? We podcast every single hour, and we call them the Connecticut Cast because our podcasts are brought to you by Connecticut, 908-2300, 908-2300. The good folks at Connecticut, the best damn water that Miller and Moulton have ever had.
Time now for
Miller and Moulton's Today Was the Day When, giving you the history of today's date so you're a beacon of useless knowledge around the office.
Useless, but a lot of fun to talk about.
This is Today Was the Day When. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
At 41 years and 3 months old in 1908, Cy Young becomes the oldest player to record a no-hitter. It was his third career no-hitter as the Red Sox beat the Highlanders 8-spit. 1929, Bobby Jones wins his third U.S. Open in a 36-hole playoff. Now, we talked about this before with these lengthy playoffs, David. He beat Al Espinoza by 23 strokes. To say that Al spit the bit after tying Bobby Jones is an understatement. Today in 1934, Detroit radio executive George Richards pays $7,952.08. I believe it was the 8 cents that keyed it off to buy the Portsmouth Spartans. He moves the team to Detroit and rebrands it the Lions, where they would suck forever.
$7,952.08.
Yes. Seth will be fired up about this when we have him on the show coming up. The Superman first appears in the DC Comics Action Series, issue number 1 today in 1938. 48, Bob Lemon no-hits the Tigers. 1955 on CBS, the Johnny Carson Show debuts. Pretty good run.
Whatever happened to him?
Yeah, I don't know. 1962, Sandy Koufax no-hits the Mets. It would be the first of his 4 career no-hitters.
One of them a perfect game.
1965, Pete Rozelle grants ownership of the Falcons to Rankin Smith Sr. Rankin pays a record $8.5 million at the time. What an investment.
Right.
What an investment.
It's a right guard today.
Right. Riverfront Stadium opens in Cincy today in 1970. As the Braves beat the Reds 8-2, it would be demolished in 2002. 1977, Marvel Comics published the Kiss book. Kiss used a vial of their own blood that was mixed in with the ink for that comic. 1978, Willie McCovey hits his 500th home run, becoming the 12th to do so.
Stretch.
1979, Good Times by the band, was it Chic? These are good times. Come on, you remember that disco song. It was the song of the year in 79, which goes to tell you just how much cocaine people were doing.
I was going to say, because I thought that was the year of I Will Survive and MacArthur Park.
1982, Seth Everett, along with many people, named the New Jersey NHL franchise the Devils. 1984, the longest pro football game as the LA Express beat the Michigan Panthers. The game lasts 93 minutes and 33 seconds in the USFL playoffs. 1988, Chicago gives the White Sox a new stadium so they don't move to Florida. This would be a trend over the course of the next couple of years.
Right.
The Giants would then be next.
Yep.
92, couple of things happened. End of the Road by Boyz II Men was released. It was the song of the year. And Cameron Crowe's single soundtrack was released, arguably one of the best soundtracks ever. 93, Chris Webber, first overall by the Magic, would then be traded to Golden State. 94, Tanya Harding, barred for life by the U.S. Ice Skating Federation. 95, Eddie Murray reaches 3,000 hits with the Cleveland Indians. If you were born today, you share your birthday with the late Lena Horne, born today in 1917. David Allen Greer, born today in 1956. NASCAR driver Sterling Martin, born today in 1957. Anything you want to add there, David?
Sterling Marlin, two-time Daytona 500 champion.
Yngwie Malmsteen, born today in 1963, great guitarist. Mitch Richmond, born today in 65. Mike Tyson is 54 years old today, and Michael Phelps is 35 years old today.
Jamie Foxx going to play Tyson in his biopic, which is coming out. And Tyson apparently had a chat with him and said, you're not going to like some of the story, just letting you know. So be prepared.
All right. I'm in. I'm in for a biopic with Iron Mike. Great 8 o'clock hour coming up on the other side. Seth Everett and Pat Kerwin still ahead. Miller and Moulton. Thanks for listening to Fox Sports Radio.
Great news, Southwest Florida. Below invoice employee pricing is back at Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Lowest prices ever.
Okay, I just noticed that it's at 40.
Certified pre-owned vehicles. Loaded $289 per month. That's right. Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited, $289 per month.
So I should tell you 1 minute at 6:40.
Right. You gave us the 1 minute cue this time at like 53 seconds. We were on it, though.
I knew it was
we were
40.
paying attention.
Because normally it's at 45. I guess they changed it.
Below invoice employee pricing at Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. 1/2 mile south of Daniels Parkway on US 41 in Fort Myers.
All right, Sean, here's what I'm going to tell you. I know you are, very much in the anti-germaphobe camp. I get it. But the hospitals in Texas are getting full right now. So you can throw all the data you want. Florida right now, we're okay with hospitals. Texas, we're not. Dallas is having a serious issue.
You know how it works, right?
And that's the one thing, Sean, I wish to God they were doing more of instead of just giving me cases, because I could give a rat's ass about cases. I'm right there with you. How are we in hospitalizations? That's what seems to matter.
We've been working on that all morning.
I don't like the way this is being reported either, but you have to acknowledge that in Texas, they're running out of beds right now.
We are Fox Sports Radio, and we're working hard for you.
Pool need a checkup? Call the doctor, the Pool Doctor.
Hi, Dr. Mark here. Heat pumps take heat out of the air and put it in your pool. They cost less to run than gas heaters, and you won't have panels on your roof. Special pricing, rebates, and free on-site evaluations. We're a family company, and for over 40 years, we've been doing business right.
The prescription is the Pool Doctor for award-winning pool service, repairs, and unheard of $39 diagnostic calls. That's mypooldoctor.com.
Just so you know, Sean, just this is from the
state-certified CPC 0570.
5,900 COVID patients hospitalized Monday in Texas. That's just a fact.
Florida, 105.9 Fox Sports Radio. We are Fox Sports. Here's what's trending now, brought to you by the Center for Men's Health, C4MH.com.
Good morning.
Hi, did you call me on my other number?
No. Am I supposed to?
You didn't? I thought you were.
Which number do you want me to call you on?
Can you call me on the, are we on Twitch?
Well, text it to him.
I've got the other number, Seth. Is it the... I got two numbers.
Yeah, no, you dialed both numbers at the same time.
That's weird. All right, I'll call you back on the other one.
Call the other one. I'll be standing by.
Wake up in the morning. Yep, that's it. Miller.
Is that the right one?
Back some fish. And Moulton.
Press the same button each time. That's really weird. Hold on.
Probably in the mailbox. I've won.
I don't know how that happened.
I don't know. What did the Clemson guy say? I didn't get to hear it.
The whole world's going to end.
That's what he said?
No, he just says the numbers. He doesn't know how we're going to play college football. He has no idea how we're going to play.
The best local
all right, I understand his point. I just wish there were numbers to back that up. That's all.
You're live.
And as we approach a couple minutes past 8 o'clock, top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? We are Miller and Moulton. This is Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. We stream this show every day at millerandmoulton.com, the brand new millerandmoulton.com. And why don't you check us out on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels. You know who's checking us out a day early? Seth Everett, kind enough to join us once again. Seth, top of the morning to you. How are you this fine week?
Since we last spoke, it was very quickly. But, yeah, how are you guys doing? And, David, I have to just say we had a lot of fun yesterday.
I pinch hit
Mark,
for
you missed out.
Eton Thomas. By the way, they don't take commercials.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
You know why I said no so quickly? I mean, I had something to do, but that's work.
It was fun though, but I did a quick mathematical equation on Seth's show. If Seth's been coming on our show 12 years minimum,
right?
Minimum. And so I figured that Seth has been on the show minimum 300 times. Okay, at 15 minutes a guest appearance, which is probably on the low side. All right, that's 75 hours of free programming that Seth has given us. All right, over the years. All right.
Not always. We had deals in the past, just for the record.
I figured, okay, that the least I could do, since he's given us a minimum of 75 hours, is as part of Miller and Moulton, give him 2 back.
Good
on
for you.
Twitch.tv.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Seth, there was one thing I wanted to point out to you today on the show, because we do this today is the day when thing every day. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but it was today in 1938 that Superman first appears in the DC Comics Action Series, issue number 1. Is that a big deal to you?
Number 1. Yep.
Is that a big deal to you? Do you own that comic?
I own a replica of it. There was replicas of it that they would sell around this time, whenever it was a milestone anniversary. But yeah, I have a replica in my bookcase, and David saw the bookcase because I have 3 bookcases in my office. One is all sports books, one is all comic books, and the other is a kind of a miscellaneous nonfiction biographies, stuff like that. And my camera just happens to focus on the comic books, so people don't know that I own any sports books, but they sure see a lot of comic books.
Seth Everett, he of Sports with Friends and Hall of Justice, his 2 terrific podcasts. You can always follow Seth on Twitter at Seth_Everett. Well, I asked you on your Twitch show yesterday, how many Major League Baseball players do you think are going to opt out? And at that moment in time, no one had officially raised their hand. About 17 minutes after the show ended, 4 of them said, nope, I'm out of here. You, for the record, said you think it's going to average 1 per team. You think 30 guys are going to opt out.
Yeah, and since then I've thought about it, and I actually talked to a couple people in the league, and I think it's going to be even higher. I'd say around 50 now. But my issue that I've said, and I said this to you yesterday, is that I don't understand the reasoning behind it. And I heard you guys say, Ian Desmond wrote a very nice thing. That's his right, because anybody can be on social media. But I would rather it just be It's too complicated. It's too scary. I don't want to know their personal stories because I don't want to judge them. And in Trevor Ariza's case, the NBA player, he's in a custody battle. And I respect his custody battle, but that's not a reason not to play. That has nothing to do with COVID. That has to do with his personal custody battle. And I don't think it should be our position to judge what players are doing what and when. That's just, to me, not fair. And I would respect their privacy to just say, I'm not feeling it. It's too risky. That's it. And just keep it at that. And let us not speculate on why Ian Desmond or Mike Leake or any of these players are not doing it. That's just a personal thing. I feel awkward knowing all that.
So you'd rather they just say I'm not playing and not tell us why? I mean, Seth, you know that's counterintuitive to how we work these days.
No, I know, but I would rather it just be too risky. Say it through the team. Say it by yourself. Too risky. I'll see you next year. That's all I want. I don't want to know why these guys want to do it. And again, caring for a parent or caring for someone who's high risk versus the high risk of yourself. And I'll say this about Gary Zimmerman because I respect Gary Zimmerman a lot. He's been on my podcast. I'll say this. I don't want him at the ring ceremony because if you can go to the ring ceremony, you're exposing yourself. And if you're not playing, don't expose yourself. How about
Seth
that?
Meant Ryan Zimmerman of the Nats.
Ryan Zimmerman. What did I say?
You're Gary. You're thinking of your days back in Denver covering the Broncos.
Denver,
You're
Gary
thinking of the
Zimmerman,
left tackle.
former offensive lineman.
But it is interesting, athletes and coaches have hid behind personal reasons. How many times is there something, Mark, that happens in college and they hide behind HIPAA or they hide behind, privacy rules?
Raekwon Smith with the Bears.
Right.
Did it 2 weeks.
Right. Well, look at Syracuse. Syracuse won't give out the number of positive cases that they have. And I think that's ridiculous. I think, I'm not asking for their names. No one's asking for the LSU guys' names or Clemson. I heard you guys with the guy with Clemson. I'm not asking for their names. I'm not violating privacy laws. But if Syracuse has 6 positive cases, I think we have a right to know. And what I said to somebody at Syracuse is I said, okay, I'm going to assume it's your entire offensive line. Tell me I'm wrong. And don't say that you're telling health organizations, but you don't want to tell the media. That's stupid, too. I just think there should be some standard. Just say, these guys tested positive, that's it. And as far as the guys who are opting out, it's too risky. That's it. I don't want to know your personal stories because if you tell me them, then I have the right to open up judgment. And I don't want this fractured country judging every player for what they're doing.
Well, Mark, this goes back to our poll question from 2 to 3 weeks ago, which we referenced about an hour ago in the show, in which we asked all of you, are you going to have a problem if someone in any of the major sports opts out? Yes, no, or it depends on the reason. And while it was a little over 50% that was like, no, I'm not going to have a problem, I think 11% of
any player can back out. I just don't want to know the reason.
Right. Well, and about a third of the people who responded were like, well, it depends on the reason. So it's interesting, Seth, that you fall into that category on the poll question.
No, but what I'm saying is that if person X, just Peter Parker plays for the Phillies, and he decides he doesn't want to play.
No, Seth, we get it.
And his reason is because he's gotten addicted and he wants to have pizza every day, and he can't do that if he goes to play. Like a dumb reason like that. Should we reveal that? No. And I don't have a problem with any player not playing, but I just want them to all say the same reason. It's too risky.
Seth, you've contested.
It is too risky because the baseball plan is as intricate as it is. There is not one page in the 100-page guidelines book about what the players do when they leave the ballpark. When they leave the ballpark, they can do whatever the hell they want. And that's dumb to me.
Seth, which of the 100 pages, what one thing on there? Because, I mean, come on, there's a lot of dumbness to the things that can't happen. Can you rank a couple? I mean, from the wet rag for the pitcher to the no sunflower seeds and everything in between. Have you seen something quite like this before in your life?
No, my favorite is if you argue a call and you come within 6 feet of the umpire, you're suspended. It's not just thrown out of the game. You're suspended. That's my favorite because I want to scream, "He's out," but do it from far away. And that's why I'm adamant about please no sound effects. Like you can do organs and you can do, music coming in and out of breaks or whatever you want to do, but please do not do fake crowd noise. I've seen it in soccer. I think it looks fake. It sounds fake, and I want to hear all the whiffs of all the missed swings and misses because I'll be watching all of them. And then I said this to David yesterday, but I have been asked to go to some games, and I'm very conflicted about it. It would be in the New York area where it has been very, very low now. We're on the recovery side, and I don't know if you saw, but New Jersey postponed its opening of indoor dining, not because of anything going on in New Jersey, but because what's happening in Florida, Texas, Arizona, and so on. And he's just saying, I'm preventing what those mistakes are. And I saw that, and I see it, and then I'm thinking to myself, do I need to go to Yankees-Orioles? I don't know. I'm very conflicted about the whole thing because I got the email, and they said, all they request is because they're limiting the number of media to 30, and when you say 30 sounds like a lot, there's usually 100 media members at a major game in the New York area. And if you're 30, you have to reserve the dates. And we don't have the schedule yet, but they told us that get online because it's going to be first come, first serve on the dates. I was just like, what would be safer? Would Yankee Stadium be safer than Citi Field, than Citizens Bank Park? I don't know. I don't have a vibe on it.
Seth, do you think from the people that you've talked to that we're going to get a really prominent player? Because, with no disrespect, Mike Leake is a back-end starter. Ian Desmond is an extra outfielder. Joe Ross is a back-end starter on the Nats. Ryan Zimmerman, at this point in his career, I don't even know if he's a regular in the lineup, to be honest. Maybe a platoon
I hear what
batted
you're saying.
first base.
Zach Wheeler I'm interested in because Zach Wheeler's wife is pregnant, and she's supposed to give birth this summer. And I don't know the exact due date because this is not something I file in my brain. But he had misgivings back in April about playing in the bubble. Remember, they were talking about going to Arizona in the middle of July, and he didn't like that because he didn't want to be so far away. In this circumstance, he's not going to be that far away, but he'll actually be closer because there's no Central or West Coast road trips. So he could do the regular paternity thing as what he said was if it was a regular year, that's what his plan was. He's nervous about leaving her in a pandemic. Now, has the situation in New Jersey changed enough that he has changed his mind? I don't know that. I'm close with Zach, but not that close. And that's a personal decision that he has to make. But that would be a frontline starter. That would be a frontline player who opts out.
Yeah, that'd be a number 2 starter for the Phillies. And Mark, what would be fascinating in Wheeler's case is he just signed a big free agent contract too, right? And that would be his first impression on his new teammates, organization, and the fan base. 5 years, like $118 million. And by the way, I'm going to sit this year out.
Well, I guarantee he's not the only guy whose wife's pregnant in Major League Baseball right now either.
No, I agree with you. And again, that's why I don't want to know these things. I don't want to know their personal situations. I just want to hear too risky. And if Aaron Judge came out and said, I'm not playing, it's too risky, I'd say, tip your cap, say goodbye, see you next year. I wouldn't think twice about it. But if Aaron Judge gives me some dumb reason, I don't want to know that. And that's my whole point. And my thing with Aaron Judge, he took that picture getting off the private jet, getting ready to come to New York for summer training 2.0 or whatever they're calling it, and he wasn't social distancing with anybody. He was arms around his teammates taking pictures. Bring it on.
Well, on that note,
out of the ballpark, so the 101-page guidelines doesn't apply.
Well, but that's I know he doesn't get his year of service, but when Snell started all this going, I don't know if it's worth the money. I know you don't want to hear the reason. But there's a few of these guys that probably could be a reason, isn't it, Seth?
Of course it could be. Of course it could be. And they're thinking, 60 games is not worth it. But you have to factor the 2 in, to me at least. What you're saying is you're getting a third of your contract, basically, You're getting about a third of your contract, and you're exposing yourself to a bunch of reckless 20-year-olds who are going to be going out hog wild the minute they get out of their quarantine situations. Because remember, they've all been home for the most part in different parts of the country, doing what they feel was appropriate. And they are going to be on the road. They are going to be at home. And I'm less worried about at home, on the road. Because when they're on the road, from what I've been told, is there's 2 buses that are going to leave like normal, and they're going to go right to the hotel, and they want everybody on those buses and staying in the hotel. I've been told that road teams are going to have somewhat of isolation. Home teams, you can drive to your player lot, get in your car, and go wherever the hell you want.
I think I mentioned this a month or so ago. If you were to write it down on paper, Mark and Seth, and we're talking with Seth Everett, Sports with Friends, Hall of Justice. Follow him on Twitter at Seth_Everett. If you're Mookie Betts, if I were to write it down on paper, I mean, he's going to make 35% of what he's supposed to make, which I think is around $9 million this year.
Yeah.
He's going to be an unrestricted free agent. He's going to make $300-something million this offseason. Or maybe because of the marketplace, he only gets at 250 or 270 or what have you. If you were to write it down on paper and say, would you risk $9 million when in 6 months you're going to make 300? I mean, you could, if I was his agent, I would go, are you sure?
The guy on the Washington Wizards said, I'm a free agent this summer. I don't want to do this.
Right. And I mean, and he said this was a business decision. I'm not going to come back for 8 games in Orlando, and right now we are not even good enough to make the play-in game. I am not risking what is likely to be a $50 million offseason contract, guaranteed, by the way, for 10% of my salary now, which is probably, I don't even know for him if it's 6 figures. And he said, yeah, I'm not doing it. No way.
Well, and I remember talking to Mookie Betts when Trout and Harper and Arenado all signed those 8-year deals because of the fear of the new collective bargaining agreement and how there might be term limits on deals. And I said Mookie Betts and Christian Yelich should sign instantly. And Christian Yelich hadn't signed, and that was strange because he likes Milwaukee. And I don't understand what's going on with him. And I don't know. And now he can't get that deal. And then Mookie Betts is not going to get that deal. So both players were stupid. And Bryce Harper, Nolan Arenado, who has had so many issues with Colorado, keep your mouth shut and go show up and play and enjoy your money because you would not get that on the open market. And he has an opt-out clause, and I don't think he's going to do it.
How big of an advantage does this give Houston? David and I have talked about it. The one thing about this abbreviated baseball season,
you guys can't bring garbage cans to the drop.
But it stinks. I mean, of all the things, like
I
look at
that.
state.
Oh no, Houston's not coming in. There's no reason for me to go.
But how much do they skate, Seth? They walked away from what would have been a hell of a year. I mean, are they the biggest benefactor of this whole COVID-19 2020 crap from a pure sports standpoint?
No, because I just think in 2021 that this doesn't go away. I just they'll get theirs. I think the best thing they have is they hired the right guy to manage them. He's going to bring some dignity to the club in Dusty Baker, and I just think that the Astros they'll come back to the rhetoric once we have games going on. Because again, these games are not very fast-paced, and they'll have no crowd. So there'll be a lot of talk shows going on during the broadcast. You're going to hear a lot about the Astros then, at least to me.
Seth, for the record, a week before this all hit, Yelich did sign his extension with the Brewers.
Oh, thanks. I'm tired.
He signed a 7-year, 108.
Yeah, I remember it now. Yeah.
Right. And
as I said it, I was like, wait a minute.
It's added on to the 2 existing years he still has. So Yelich is contractually obligated to the Brewers for 9 more years. He deferred $4 million a year, by the way, until after his playing days are over.
He was applauded for that. Yes, and he wants to be a Brewer, and he likes it there. And you're right.
Yep.
You're right.
In fact, he made sure there's no opt-out clauses in his contract, as he said. I want to opt in on this partnership. All right, Sports with Friends, Hall of Justice. What do you have?
for Sports with Friends, there's a new media company. And in this time, with this pandemic going on, there has been so many layoffs and so many furloughs. Sportico is coming. Penske, which owns Variety, has created Sportico, which is going to be a new sports business site, and they're launching today, actually. And tomorrow on Sports with Friends, the CEO of Penske is going to be joining me to talk about how are you creating a new sports media company in this time, and where are you getting the revenue to do it? That's Sports with Friends. And Hall of Justice is going to be the rant of all rants. Recently, a number of Caucasian voice actors have abandoned their parts on popular cartoon shows because they are white and the characters they're playing are black, and they want black people to portray them. And I am somebody who has been a social activist. I am somebody who has so many black friends, and I am going to be talking to all of them on this podcast. That is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. Mike Henry, who is the voice of Cleveland Brown on the show Family Guy for 20 years, decided he's going to abandon a character he created because he's white, and a black person should get a black character, and that's dumb. Phil Lamar, who is an African-American voice actor, voiced Samurai Jack. Do you think he was African-American? Cree Summer voiced Elmira on Tiny Toons. She wasn't black. And most recently, Rosario Dawson was Wonder Woman. Does she look like Wonder Woman? No. In voice animation, race does not exist. And to bring race into it is a crime. And it's wrong, and we'll be doing an entire episode on that. And we're hoping to get Phil Lamar and Cree Summer on to discuss it.
Heady stuff there, Seth. Yeah. Very heady stuff right there. That's an interesting podcast. That should be a very good listen.
To me, live action is very different. You know, Tropic Thunder can't be made anymore. Short Circuit can't be made anymore. Live action is very, very different. But in animation, that is one of the stupidest things, and I get angry just thinking about it. And what I've done is I've tapped on all the animation resources that I have and said, can you get these people? And if they're comfortable talking about it, we will. If not, the guy who does our film reviews, Victor Dandridge, who is African-American, he's on the same page with me, and he's going to do it. We're going to put a whole podcast out on this because this is dumb. Mike Henry, I wonder if he's getting coerced into doing it because this doesn't make any sense to me.
He's Seth Everett, Sports with Friends, and what will be the lively Hall of Justice. You can always follow Seth on Twitter at Seth_Everett and check out his now daily Twitch TV show, early afternoons most days on twitch.tv. Seth, as always, thanks for your time. Be well. Get some rest.
Yes, get some rest, and thank you for yesterday. We had a blast. Talk to you guys soon.
Seth Everett moved his weekly appearance up a day because, well, we're going to have Ross Chastain in Seth's spot tomorrow.
There you go. The Melon Man.
That's how you get bumped.
The $100,000 man.
Mr. Dash for Cash, as we now call him.
Wow. Do you want the $100,000 bar or do you want the $100,000?
I'll take the check, please. Thank you very much. Miller and Moulton. Pat Kerwin to talk Cam and the Patriots and all things NFL next. Thanks for being with us, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Calling your quarantine. And we move now to the couch where this match is set to take place. The first spoonful of ice cream shoveled in, maybe a little too fast. We could have a brain freeze situation here. Cannot fill the void of baseball. And after making quick work of the dishes, she turns to, oh, wait. We'll get back to the ballpark. The cat was settled by her feet eventually. Look out below, she's going down. A message of hope from Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
It's Kaylee Kobe with your Kobe Cooling Tip of the Day. It's summertime, so it's hot. Make sure you change your AC filters every month and have your air conditioners cleaned twice a year by NATE certified mechanics, like my dad. All the mechanics at Kobe Cooling are NATE certified because you deserve the best. If your AC stops working, turn it off and call 239-482-1542. And relax. We will take it from there. 24/7, Same low prices, never no more time charge. When you think of air conditioning companies, we hope you'll think of Kobe Cooling. No nonsense, no pressure. We're the company your neighbors use. License CACO 57313. Kobe, most trusted name in the business since 1949.
Thank you for your business all these years.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
Dan Martineau here, owner of D.R. Martineau Roofing of Southwest Florida. I've been repairing and replacing roofs for 27 years. We operate with integrity, knowledge, and service. Google DRM Roofing or call 239-332-1441.
License number CCC 1326954.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
94.1 Lehigh.
We are my
Attention, Southwest Florida. Are you ready for this? Only Naples Nissan will give you $8,000 over Kelley Blue Book value for your trade-in. Hundreds of new SUV models to choose from, all backed by our exclusive unlimited mile lifetime warranty. Pick out your favorite at NaplesNissan.com. Then come see us on Pine Ridge Road to find out the KBB.com current market value for your trade-in. And we'll give you $8,000 more so you can drive that brand new Nissan home today. If KBB says it's worth $5,000, Naples Nissan will give you $13,000. If KBB says $10,000, we'll give you $18,000. You must act fast though. Visit NaplesNissan.com for full details. Offer on select models with approved credit and cannot be combined.
Let's face it, these are stressful times. New routines, the constant bombardment of bad news, and trying to keep you and your family safe all the time. It's Frank for Center for Men's Health. During these stressful times, your mood is so critical, and nothing's more important to a guy's mood than testosterone. The single greatest issue for guys with low T is mood. And the single greatest change for men that get low T care is a greatly improved mood. Many are grumpy when they start, and most can't believe how much their mood improves once they get treated. And everything improves once your mood improves. Feel the difference C4MH.com can make in your life. I've been a patient of C4MH.com for a couple of years, and recently
How long we got?
20 pounds because now I have the energy to work out from home. And that'll put you in a good mood,
13
too.
seconds.
C4MH.com
well, there you have it.
express treatment plan is convenient, affordable, and above all, safe. And with locations all up and down West Florida.
Morning, Pat. How are you?
Right now. Find out
Appreciate those pictures as the fishing trip was going on.
Woo! We killed it.
Yeah, I bet you did.
All right, now we're getting somewhere.
How'd the stripers go?
We landed up not going. There was a weather
You're
thing,
live.
and then it was going to be pushed off till late in the day, and I didn't feel like waiting around, so I didn't do it. That's all right. I'm heading to Florida next week. See what I do when I get down there.
As we approach 29 minutes past 8 o'clock, welcome back to Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at millerandmoulton.com and broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and twitch.tv channels. His weekly appearances brought to us courtesy of Pinchers from Tampa to Key West and many points in between with 8 locations in Southwest Florida. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. He's Pat Kerwin of NFL Radio, moving the chains weekday afternoons. Pat, how are you?
No, I'm doing fine. And yesterday I took my first day off since the Super Bowl, and I can't wait for today to get back on the air, to tell you the truth. One day was fine. Anyway, you know, it's amazing, and both of you can appreciate this. You take one day off, or 2 days is even more ridiculous, in the world of the NFL, even in the state of affairs that we have now, and you can get so far behind in the content and the subject matter. And I had my grandson, so I didn't do one thing with football until 5 o'clock this morning. But, you know, it was funny. I just sat here going, well, that's interesting. I've really never had that many new subjects to cover in a day when I didn't do anything. So a lot of things happened while I took a day off, and I'm here to talk about them if you want to.
Well, let's start out with what happened in New England. We all thought that they should sign someone. You were the guy saying it should be Cam, and it was. So talk to us about Cam Newton as a Patriot.
I think it's great for Cam, and I think it'll be great for the Patriots. I think Belichick and Josh especially Josh, have been itchy to expand the way they play football and not just be the Brady. So they loved it. They got a lot of Super Bowls and all that, but I think they've been intrigued for a while. Remember, they did all those evaluations on Kyler Murray and Pat Mahomes. So they knew what was going on. And then they had to play those kind of guys, and they started to see the problems. So I think they got a chance right now to experiment in some different things that they probably never, ever would think of calling with Tom and the guys. So we'll see if it takes them to a good place. I think for the Patriots, again, I know Buffalo, everyone thinks they're going to win the division. I haven't heard a Buffalo conversation since this happened. So I do think it's great for all of them. And I think I sat down with Cam at the Super Bowl, and we talked for about a half hour. Two things happened to me during the conversation. One, his maturity level was a lot different, in that he sees the big picture now, and he's old enough to realize the ups and downs of the league, and I think he's going to welcome the opportunity to be with Belichick, and I think he'll be all ears in how to do it and do it the Patriot way, and have his own little flair, because Belichick will let him be himself, but I do think it's a good time, and he's now, in my mind, the first time ever been ready to handle being a Patriot, because it comes with a whole different set of rules.
I also think that people don't realize, Cam has been humbled once before. Cam got humbled in college. He screwed up at Florida, all right, and he got kicked out of Florida, and no one else picked him up. He had to go play junior college ball at a small place, I believe, in Texas. And Auburn said, okay, we're going to give you a shot, but this is probably your last chance. And we all know he produced one of the greatest seasons in college football history. So he's actually been in this situation once before in a make it happen or else year. And we saw what he did with it. But Pat, you brought up an interesting point that oftentimes we label guys, well, he's a defensive coach. And well, if you're Belichick and you're having to play Lamar Jackson, doesn't that get you then at a meeting to sit down with Josh McDaniels and go, man, I thank goodness we don't have to defend this 12 times a year, because I don't know how we do it. Maybe we should incorporate some of this stuff, if you know what I mean, that oftentimes defensive coaches change their offenses based on an opponent that they have to try to stop.
Yeah, it happened to Pete Carroll with Russell Wilson. They were getting ready to this is Russell's rookie season, and they had to play somebody that was kind of in an RPO world. It might have been Camp for all I remember. But so the only guy who could run the scout team and give the defense the right look was Russell. And I remember having a conversation with Pete like 2 days after they started getting ready. He said, how's the prep going? He goes, well, our defense is getting exposed, so we got to fix things. But we're also realizing that Russell can run this stuff. And he did it, and he didn't really do it at Wisconsin or NC State. So a lot of times getting your defense ready and dealing with the problems leads you down a road of some of the offensive things you want to do. And everyone knows Cam has beaten Belichick twice, so it's he knows personally what that guy can do. And I don't think they're going haywire here, but because Cam will sit in the pocket and throw the ball, but they're going to add some things. And the other part of your observation, David, is most of us, in fact, all of us, I think, build your defense based on what you really always have to play. So for a long time, Belichick was, against the Flaccos of the world, and he's dealing with, Kurt Warner in a Super Bowl. And so you realize they were building a defense to rush a pocket passer. So then you start asking yourself, do we really have the defense athletically to do these things? So you start morphing into those kind of things. And then along the way, I think you start to realize, remember, Josh McDaniels, foolishly, but did draft Tebow in the first round. He was ready to go down that road himself. Obviously, it was a failure, but now I think they have a whole different mindset and modification of how they do it, what they do. I'm very excited to watch it. I can't wait. Hopefully we can get to the Patriot camp July 29th or 30th. If they let us in, we'll see. We're working on that right now. But I think it's a marriage made in heaven, honestly, between those two guys.
All right. That's the relationship between the coaches and the new quarterback. But what about the roster, Pat? Because I specifically asked you when Tom signed with Tampa, what if Belichick were the coach, what record do you put on this roster? And you said 5-11.
Yep.
So how much improved is it just with Cam, and how much more has to be done to this roster?
Well, I think they put him right in contention to win the division. And now the other part of my conversation with Cam was his health. And he was very confident that his health was in place and that the foot injury kind of helped the shoulder. He was making the connection of how much extra time he got to get himself back to 100%. So we'll see if he's 100%, but I wouldn't bet against the Patriots winning the division. Not with this situation. And there's the other part of Cam that, wait till you see, and I'll guarantee they've talked to Ron Rivera about it, that red zone running package for Cam. They're not going to do it a lot, and they may not do it till they're in the fourth quarter of games. But when they need it, and it's desperation time, they will have a run package for Cam. And Cam wants to do that. He's the biggest quarterback maybe to ever play physically, and he likes running. So I would say I would not bet against them winning the division. I think they will.
Also want to point out, Bill brought in Corey Dillon 15 plus years ago, who was a misunderstood but very talented player in Cincinnati. He was a model Patriot, and he produced some big seasons for him. He brought in Randy Moss after the Raiders debacle, in which people thought he's done. Another one, misunderstood, very talented guy who produced in 07 and 08, maybe the two best back-to-back seasons a wide receiver has ever had. And now he's going to get a 31-year-old Cam Newton who hasn't been healthy for a year and a half. But the year and a half before he got hurt, he took Carolina to the playoffs in 2017, and he had them 6-2 midway through the 2018 season. Hurts his shoulder in 2018, hurts his foot in 2019, and now we're writing off Cam Newton. I got a feeling right now, if I could put money on something, Mark, I think I'd bet Cam Newton for NFL Comeback Player of the Year. Can I talk about something with the Patriots, though, that isn't getting a lot of attention? They got penalized by the league. $1 million fine, which is nothing. Cost him a third-round draft pick, which I think then said to people, wow, this is significant. With what they got caught doing, they hired a video crew, and it was not people that worked directly for them, but they hired them. They sent them to a Bengals-Browns game. They were supposed to shoot certain things and not shoot the sideline. They shot the sideline. They got caught. And obviously this isn't the first time that the Patriots have run afoul of the NFL rules. As a former NFL executive, how egregious is it what that video crew and what the Patriots did?
I think it was ridiculously dumb, and I don't think it wasn't a football-seeking information trip. First off, do you think they need video to beat the Bengals? No, they don't. Number two, why did the Bengals permit them in the press box? Number three, they set up their cameras right in front of the executives of any team that was up there. They weren't hiding anything. But the history of the Patriots, with all the other issues they've had, that's why the fine and the draft pick. I think if they had never done anything before or been accused of doing anything before, this would have been a slap on the wrist and get rid of your film crew. These websites, these team websites are constantly searching for content now because they have a locked-in audience and they are compelled to do more, and they like the traffic. So they're constantly bringing up creative ways to show the inner workings of a team. Every bit of research out there tells these teams that your fans want inside. They want to be in the building. They want to be in the headset. They want to be on the sideline. So you start trying to, this is the life of a scout and everything else. So I think without the past, this would have been nothing. I can tell you, I know Belichick. I work with the guy. There was nothing that they were going to show him on tape that he doesn't already know. And most of it he couldn't care less about. You think he's going to risk another episode of his life here with a Bengal espionage trip? It's a joke. But I understand why they find him.
All right, Pat, when we start heading towards the season, you started talking about more content. Well, with no fans or 25% fans or whatever we're going to do, how nervous do you think the Belichicks are? David and I have talked about this. You start giving us too much nat sound, we can hear everything. How concerned are these teams about what is going to be exposed from an audio standpoint with no fans?
Well, there will be some, but I think Belichick and others are already precluding that issue and have come up with systems. They'll be maybe risk banning it, so all you hear is a number or a letter or a coded word, which is insignificant, and that tells the guys what to look at on their wristbands. It's easy to knock the sound out. I don't think that's going to be a problem for them. They're not going to let their inner secrets come out and how they handle themselves on the sideline. And we know Belichick, and he's not the only one, but he's my favorite one because even at the owners' meetings, the mandatory coaches' breakfast where the media gets a chance to sit down over bacon and eggs and talk about a team, Belichick's always the last. He just about gets there before it's over. So he's not worrying about this stuff. He's not. And you can code things to the point where they have no idea what you're talking about, and you can recode it next week a different way. So I don't think you're going to get a lot out of it. I think they'll be fascinated about maybe his emotional response to good and bad. He's always perceived as deadpan, but he's not really. And when you're around him, and I've said this to you guys before, he's a totally different guy between the white lines at practice and at games. He's got a personality the players all know about, but it doesn't come out in front of a camera. And if they want to zoom in on him here, he's real good at squatting down in front of the defensive line on the sideline and basically whispering to them. So I don't think you're going to get a lot out of him. And I think a lot of coaches are trying to figure out how to make sure you get nothing from them either.
We're talking with Pat Kerwin, he of CBS's NFL Today show, Moving the Chains, weekday afternoons on NFL Radio. Pat joining us once again, courtesy of Pinchers, 8 locations in Southwest Florida. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. Pat, in the week since we've spoken, the NFL canceled the Hall of Fame game for this year and pushed back the 2020 Hall of Fame ceremony to 2021. Your gut feeling as to preseason football? I think that the season will get cut from 4 games to no more than 2. I think there's a chance even we don't have games this year. Just your thought, if they're going to report on time at the very end of July, if you can't have controlled scrimmages and if preseason football is going to be affected, compared to a normal training camp, how behind do you think teams will be that first weekend they have to play for real compared to a normal year?
Well, they're all going to be behind in a sense, but we've talked about the teams with the veteran quarterbacks that know the stuff inside out, like the Saints. They're not going to be behind, and relatively speaking, they're going to be way ahead. So there are going to be issues. I've talked to a number of coaches. They are really scratching their head about the installation of their offense and defense. What's the pace I can put stuff in at? Am I getting any rookies ready to start? There's a couple teams that are going to have to start 2 or 3 rookies. So how much can they handle? Because if they don't know their assignment, the rest of the defense or offense will fall apart. So the installation, in a lot of ways, is going to be altered. I think the guys that have, as I said, the Drew Brees type quarterbacks, they're going to be up and running, and they're going to have an advantage. They're going to have situational stuff that the other team's not ready for. How many teams, I'll give you an example. You want to play the Cardinals opening day. You're not having preseason games. You're not scrimmaging. How much work on dime defense are you going to get with all those corners you're going to need to handle their 10 personnel stuff? So matchups are going to be a problem. In that if you have to play those Cardinals and they come out in 4 wides and you got to come out in 4 corners, and your 4th corner is a rookie and your 3rd corner was on the practice squad last year, you'd be ready for nickel, but you're not ready for dime. It's, those are the kind of things I think will show up and be problems for a number of teams right away. So I think that. Number 2, I think that draft picks rounds 4, 5, 6, and 7 and college free agents, they're in a heap of trouble to make the team. It's cut day. It's Labor Day. Am I keeping a guy that didn't play much in the preseason? I'm trying to get my team ready. Didn't get a lot of reps. Yeah, he's a 4th-round pick. And the 4th round is the hard one because most 4th-rounders make it. Am I keeping that guy? Or am I keeping the 30-year-old guy that's already run my defense when I was at another team? So that's going to be the problem. And I think the bottom feeders that don't have good rosters that are in the rebuild phase, they're going to get some real opportunity to get some nice young players that they can claim off the waiver wire on the cut day.
All right, take that to coaches. I've been reading the last 2 days, for whatever reason, the Cleveland players apparently have talked to media. Odell Beckham, unfinished business. I laughed so hard when he said there's unfinished business. Really? In Cleveland with the Browns, there's unfinished business. There's been unfinished business in Cleveland for 50 years, for crying out loud. But with Stefanski, a guy that you know very well and like a lot, Pat, he's a brand new head coach with a lot of interesting personalities on this team and really high expectations. How difficult from the coaching standpoint is it going to be in Cleveland?
Well, it's going to be really difficult. I know Kevin is trying to meet one-on-one with guys to drill down into their personality, drill into their expectations, drill down his expectations for them. Kevin's really a smart guy, and I think his intelligence will be tested in this environment. And it won't be because he's not figuring it out as quick as a young guy can. It'll be because Cleveland can't wait. They'll judge Kevin on the opening game. We are both, all three of us know it, that they'll be booing. They don't care. Kevin carries with him, like I've said about the Lions, your place, Mark. He carries the sins of the past on his shoulders. So the fan just sees Kevin as the next guy. Now they want to be excited and they hope he's good, but they won't give him enough time. And there's no history here of them giving anyone enough time. So can management and ownership actually control this for the first time? Because they never do. Or is this going to be just a pressure cooker for Kevin? And, my advice to Kevin is be careful what you wish for, because it's here now. Now you gotta take those Cleveland Browns and, I don't know, return to what? I don't know. Brian Sipe? Is that how far back we have to go? But
Kozar, hey, come on now.
It is what it is. But who's turning down a head coaching job when you're a young guy waiting your whole life to get one? Now, a veteran guy might turn that job down, knowing, I'll wait. You think Ron Rivera would have taken that job over Washington? I don't know. So, but I do think the young guys always take. I mean, that's the profile of this team. Always goes down that road, except for Holmgren, and they always seem to go down that way. Even a little Mangini, but at the end of the day, I don't know if they have any patience there.
The average coach in Cleveland under this ownership group has got not less than 2 years. He's Pat Kerwin of, yes, I know, exactly. Less than 2 years on average, and you wonder why it hasn't worked. Pat Kerwin of NFL Radio. He'll be in there with Jim Miller at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Pat, safe travels. Enjoy your fishing. We'll talk next week.
Yep. Thanks, fellas. Have a good week.
Pat Kerwin, kind enough to join us once again. And Mark, as we head to break, getting back to his Arizona point, they open at the Niners, but after that, they play teams that drafted 2nd, 3rd, 7th, and 11th. Washington, Detroit at home, Carolina, and the Jets on the road. All right, so if you're looking for a team that could get off to a good start because of what Pat was talking about, after opening at the Niners, the Arizona Cardinals have a month where they got 4 really winnable games. Miller and Moulton. The good, the bad, and the ugly as we put a wrap on this final show of June here on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Welcome to the program.
This is the Dan Patrick Show.
Talked a little bit about the Maguire-Sosa documentary, and I think if this was last year at this time, we'd probably go, oh, that was pretty good. But right now, after the Jordan documentary, even the Lance Armstrong documentary, it sort of fell flat because you're going, okay, kind of
So the Lance Armstrong was good, huh?
Coming with anything other than what was happening in the moment.
Dan Patrick. The Dan Patrick Show. Weekdays at 9 a.m. on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
We've got our good friend Tim Meister, owner of the Floor Meisters in Naples, on the phone. We're talking about their huge selection and great pricing on Core-Tec flooring. Tim, tell us what's new at the store.
Right now we have 90 colors of Core-Tec in stock, ready to go pick up, put down as soon as you want it. Everything from starting at $299 on up with lifetime warranty.
And it's not just the many colors of Core-Tec that you have. You also have other Core-Tec products as well.
We also carry the Core-Tec stone product. Looks like tile, looks like stone, but it's Core-Tec, so you get the softness, quietness, and the easy installation to go with it. We also have Core-Tec wood, look of wood, real wood, but with a more stable core for Southwest Florida's humidity.
If you haven't been to the Floor Meisters, you really owe it to yourself to visit the store. 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go online, floormeisters.com. That's floormeisters.com.
Hardee's presents the new spicy Western Bacon Cheeseburger. It's just like the Western Bacon Cheeseburger with charbroiled beef, crispy bacon and onion rings, and topped with tangy barbecue sauce. But we added spicy jalapenos and melty pepper jack cheese. We took a burger that was already delicious and spiced it up. Why are we using this whip crack to explain it? Because jalapenos sound like this. Try the new spicy Western Bacon Cheeseburger at Hardee's. Feed your happy. Limited time only at participating Hardee's restaurants. Price and participation may vary. Hardee's presents the Southwest Omelet, Biscuit, and Burrito. Wanted in 42 states on charges of bringing a sweat to the brow of breakfast lovers with low spice tolerance. We start with a made-from-scratch biscuit. And then we add a fluffy omelet full of melted cheese, crispy bacon, and spicy jalapenos. And if you're feeling extra wild, you can get it all wrapped up in a burrito. The Southwest Omelet, Biscuit, and Burrito are back. Only at Hardee's. Feed your happy. Limited time only at participating Hardee's restaurants. Price and participation may vary.
Listen to Miller and Moulton at home on your Amazon Alexa. Just say, Alexa.
Receiving. Over.
Play Fox Sports FM on TuneIn.
There were a couple of really good long-form stories on ESPN.com yesterday.
Dan Martineau here, owner of DR Martineau Roofing of Southwest Florida.
And those were?
They did behind the scenes 10 years ago next week of the decision.
Oh, yeah.
And what went down with LeBron and Wade and Bosh.
It was an hour 60 for, or 30 for 30 thing, too.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
And also Ryan McGee's 30 years in the making account of the making of Days of Thunder. And the stories and the story behind each quote and the drivers who were what. And apparently, when Harry Hogg, who we all knew was Harry Hyde, the legendary crew chief, when Harry Hogg says to Tom Cruise, you know, pit's closed. What are you doing? I'm eating ice cream. Apparently, Harry Hyde did that to Harry Gant at Pocono.
Wow.
So there were great stories behind certain lines in the film, and apparently all these lines came from like a 4-hour dinner at an Olive Garden in Daytona Beach.
Well, when you say NASCAR, you say Olive Garden.
Apparently, they were eating, and it was Tom Cruise and a couple of other people and NASCAR people. Cruise just sat and listened the whole time to them tell stories. And that's when he turned around and he's like, we've got to make this movie.
To the worst.
It's the worst thing that ever happened to anybody ever.
Prepare yourself and hide the women and children. This is Mark Miller's Good, Bad, and Ugly on Fox Sports Radio.
You're live.
Hell of a story for the good. Bobby Mitchell's homeless, and he was at Hawthorne Park in Medford, Oregon. Heard screams coming from nearby Bear Creek. He sprang into action. Hopped a fence, found a teenage boy in the water. The teen said he was trying to swim, but the area was full of debris and not swimmable. Mitchell was able to get him out of the creek and says getting him to calm down after was the hardest part because the teen was autistic, and fortunately, he was able to calm him. He called 911, and Melissa Main from the Compassion Highway Network came to help the child. Pretty amazing story.
Awesome.
For the bad, you know, you want a record, and you want to be famous, but at what point will you go? Because an Idaho man who has 150 Guinness World Records took 92 hits to the face from wet sponges to break his latest record. That's right. He had to see how many sponges could hit him in the face in a 1 minute time frame. 92 was the record. He got to 96.
That's ridiculous.
Thank you.
I think it's ridiculous of the Guinness Book of World Records to have records like that. I think it diminishes the Guinness Book of World Records, if you know what I mean. I mean, they keep track of stuff that has some,
it's a total for-profit thing. There was a great story on Last Week with John Oliver of all these dictators and places that just spend all kinds of money so they can set stupid records. That's what it's all about now. It's Guinness Book getting paid. Finally, the ugly, we go to Alaska, where Dawson Porter needed a drink. That's all I can really say. Because he took a lumber to break a window of the fire station. He got inside the building around 9 p.m. Then he started a fire truck, drove it through the station's closed bay doors, and proceeded to head 15 miles down the Alaska Peninsula Highway towards the city of Naknek. That's where he stopped in front of the Fisherman's Bar with the fire engine and full emergency lights on. 2 officers were there and made contact with Porter before he got out of the fire truck. He was arrested outside the bar. He never got the drink.
1 minute.
And did do 10 grand worth of damage to the fire truck.
So we're guessing this is a fire station where nobody is staying at,
Nope.
and everybody gets a call and they run to the fire station type deal?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
That is the good, the bad, and the ugly. On today, the final day of June, as we have nearly completed one half of the longest year in the history of mankind, 2020.
Tomorrow gets us to day 183. So Thursday morning, we begin the second half of 2020. Whew. Or the second half of the Iditarod is what it feels like.
Just got done with the swim, basically, David. You've got to go bike 100 and some odd miles and then run a marathon.
Right. Okay. Triathlon. There you go. Miller and Moulton. The Dan Patrick Show is next. Ross Chastain on the show tomorrow. Talk to you then.
And apparently, for the last hour, we finish at 50 seconds.
How much money would you like to save? Just by doing something.
Wow, did they change?
With Allstate, safe drivers can save 40% just by.
I'll text John, Giro. Something wasn't right there.
Yeah, the first one was too early, and then the middle one was okay, and then now this one at 50.
No, we were 40, 40, and 50. Telling you, we were 40, 40, and 50. Because John said something last week that we're supposed to be breaking at 40. He goes, I'll look into it. He never said anything, and then all of a sudden on Tuesday, we're breaking at 40. So we'll figure it out by tomorrow. All right, man. Be good.
You guys have a good day. See you tomorrow.